So today I have a very special honor. It's also another first-time conversation. Somebody that I've gotten a chance to follow from afar and also learn a little bit of things about kettlebells and heavy clubs, but as well as just overall being a beast even with diabetes. So when I say that this man is very motivational with his stories, but as well as where he's come from, but as well as where he is now, let him talk a little bit about himself. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Tim. Nice to be
You're more
here.
than welcome to. Nice to meet you too.
So yeah, that was a good introduction. I'm Josh. You can follow me at Grappling with Type 1 on Instagram. It's pretty much the only social media I'm really active on. Just don't have time for a whole lot of it, to be honest, especially these days. But yeah, I'm pretty much an open book, man. I mean, I'll give a little bit of an intro about myself, but let's just see how the conversation goes. If you have any questions for me, and I'm not known to give short, brief answers, so I'm sure we'll get
Hey,
going.
that's what this is for. There's no
Yeah.
time. There's no time. You just go into detail as much as you want to.
Yeah, cool. So in a nutshell, as Tim mentioned, I'm type 1 diabetic, but I train fucking really hard and try to balance the two out. And that's kind of unique because I was only diagnosed with diabetes at 27 years old, and I'm 35 now. So I was already kind of an elite level jiu-jitsu practitioner and a brown belt at the time I was diagnosed. So I've got a lot of experience with what it's actually like to have a normal functioning body and apply it to athletics, but then also have this crazy autoimmune disease and how I need to pivot and adjust. So that's kind of interesting. And I think that gives me an interesting perspective on
I'd say
fitness in
so.
general.
Yeah,
And
you
fitness
literally got
right?
both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was still the way it used to be. Everything was fucking a hell of a lot easier. But like most type 1 diabetics, and it's not, it's kind of like a myth, right? Most people think, oh, it's diagnosed in kids only, but it's not. That used to be an old medical myth. And many type 1 diabetic adults were just misdiagnosed as type 2 in the past, just because of medical, I guess, misinformation or just things that were unknown at the time. And therefore their health suffered extremely badly, but nobody ever knew they were actually type 1. They were just treating the wrong type of disease. So, but many people are diagnosed in childhood. So by the time they get to my age, and if they're into any athletic pursuits and stuff like that, it's something that they've always dealt with. So it's certainly been interesting for me learning what it's like, as I said, to kind of adapt and how much performance and things like that suffer as a result of it. So now that I'm kind of in this new endeavor of really trying to push coaching, I'm at the point in my life where I feel like I've been at it long enough. I'm experienced in multiple modalities. As I said, with autoimmune disease is a body that's trying to kill me and actively detract from my performance at all times, and a body that was kind of tip top. I'm married. I know what it's like to work a 9 to 5, but function and train like a professional athlete, have kids, balance everything out in life. And I just see so many of these like 20-year-old fitness influencers and stuff online these days that have a cool enough looking physique, which like maybe it's theirs, maybe there's some drugs involved, which that's a whole other conversation. But
we could definitely go into conversation. We could definitely go into some details about that later on.
Yeah. But yeah, I just feel like as far as appealing to like the average person that's trying to get in shape and look at social media these days, like there's so much fucking noise. You see all these people doing these fucking just whack ass exercises that did not build the physique that they're showing off, and you know what I mean, and everything just gets so watered down and confusing needlessly. So like, yes, I train crazy and I train beastly and I lift heavy shit, I sling shit around. I definitely wouldn't say that's for everybody. Or if you're some 40-year-old working professional that wants to get in better shape and you contact me, I'm not going to have you spinning a 55-pound club around your head or anything like that. It's it's all good, but I know what it's like, and it's certainly not beast mode every fucking day. If you've got a family and you got kids, and you see all these fitfluencers saying, oh, people saying they don't have time, that's just a cop out. And it's not a fucking cop out, man. I know what it's like to have a kid and a wife with mental health issues and a busy fucking life and a professional career. And athletic pursuits and jujitsu and all this stuff on my plate. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you just don't fucking have time. And I certainly wouldn't want a 20-year-old kid trying to tell me that I should like self-manage my schedule better or something like that. And I've got kids down my throat and, you know, a family to deal with. So
Yeah,
yeah,
meanwhile, I
I'd
have
like to
these
just be
kids who I'd
realistic
like
about
to put the videos up. They've recorded those videos over a lengthy period of time. Like they actually have those videos stored away. Like it's not them getting after it every single day. Like no, those are videos recorded over a lengthy period of time, and they just change their outfits so that this way they have content for the future. And yeah, even those influencers take those days off. Like they don't show it, even though they should show it, because everybody should take a day off or two because you need to recover both mentally and physically. That's very important for the human body for the longevity aspect of it. You're gonna burn yourself out too fast.
It's funny. I was chatting with Tom DeJulie earlier today, and he put up a post that it was like he took his first rest day in 2 months today. You know, and he's like, "Oh, I'm fucking cooked." And I've talked to him about it before, and I'm just like, "Bro, like, when do you rest?" And he's like, "I don't. Like, I just
Jeez.
go at it every fucking day." And I'm like, "Man, I love it. I love it. You know, like, I love the fucking drive. I think he's a great guy. He's on a really good path. He's, you know what I mean? He's fucking 25, you know, and he's establishing himself in the fitness world, and the drive is fucking wicked." But I'm like, bro, like, in another 5 years, certainly in another 10 years, you can't sustain that. Like it's impossible. You know what I mean? And you're gonna fucking plateau and regress and hit the fucking wall so hard. Take a rest day, take two. You know, take one, take two fucking next week. And you know what? Do that forever. And your body will thank you.
Yeah, people forget that it's not necessarily the gym all the time that is hitting the gym, lifting heavy, and doing all this like extreme shit to your body. That's not where a majority of the growth and development comes from. It's what you do afterwards. That's your nutrition, how much water you're drinking. Are you slurping down this soda or are you slurping down another beer? Like, I'm all for a beer or two every now and then, but if it's every single night you're downing a case and then you're looking at your stomach like, why don't I have a fucking six pack? Well, because you're downing a fucking six pack every night.
Yeah, dude.
Like at the end of the day, it all comes back down to your nutrition. Like if you're actually eating, if you're actually having proper supplements, if you're not saying go out and buy $130 worth of supplements. Like the protein powder that I use is $45, and that lasts me a month and a half. Like it's not necessarily even something that is going to drain your pockets to even eat healthy. Like my meals per week, my meal prep, some chicken, some spinach, the basic stuff, the rice. Like that basic ass lunch is maybe $20, but that feeds me for 6 days. And
Yeah.
20 minutes to cook.
Yeah, you know, and it's like it doesn't taste bad, but if you're the type of person who grew up on sodas and shitty foods and processed foods, and you know, every meal wasn't just fueling yourself, but every meal was some like exciting hedonistic experience that has to taste and jump off, and it's really fucking hard to adjust to that, you know. But like real food tastes fucking good. I've been in the habit of eating the same shit almost all the time for years now, just because I know what macros, you know, work the best for me, what foods make me feel the best. Of course, I like shit that tastes good, but you're right. It's not like people think, oh, it's so, you know, it breaks the bank to eat healthy, but it's like it breaks the bank to eat healthy and still drop all your coin on all the fucking junk food as
If
well.
you're
Right? You're
eating
trying to eat the
out,
dessert.
going out.
Yeah, you know, it's not that bad. Um, but yeah, dude, rest is part of the fucking program, you know, and it's like that took me a long time to realize too, because I used to be that young guy, and I'm like, man, if I take a day off, nobody else is taking a day off, or there's certainly people that aren't taking a day off. I've got training partners that are in there training. I've got guys I'm going to compete against that are in there training. I've got dudes who I don't even fucking know, but I just know there's other dudes out there lifting and training, and I'm not. You know, I'm sitting here in my ass, and I couldn't really take a day off, you know, and I was overtrained for fucking years through my 20s doing jujitsu. And it's just one of those things, right? It's like, you know, if I knew then what I know now, like how much better I could have actually been as an athlete, as a coach, as a teacher, you know, through all that time and everything. Because it's like, holy fuck, man, like, you know, I love training. Even when I shouldn't. It's like, you know, it's tough to like take myself away from it. But you have to know your body, you know what I mean? And you have to experiment with it. Maybe you're the type of person who can push it pretty fucking hard 5 days a week, or 6 days a week, and you maybe only need 1 day off. But you might be the type of person who can really only push it real fucking hard 3 times a week, and you actually pretty much need recovery or active recovery the other days. But it's like you have to measure that and separate yourself from what you think you should be doing, compared to what's actually yielding the results, right? Because it's like you want to apply yourself in the least way possible, right? You want to do the minimal amount of effort to elicit the maximum amount of results and strike that balance, you know, and anything more or less is just kind of superfluous or hurting the ultimate goal.
Hey, you said the key word there is balance. Balance is something that people forget. Like, you can still go out and eat food. You can still have a drink or two. You can still, you know, down some ice cream. I still love my Talenti. Like, I'm a sucker for Talenti gelato. Like those little tubs that go for $4.99 that are overpriced as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, you get a little greens in me before I go to bed, and then boom, I'm very elevated to the point that now I need to down a pint of ice cream. Now, if I'm going to down it all, I'm going to feel guilty. Not necessarily, because I know the next day I'm going to work my ass off and sweat it out, but also the next day I'm going to eat a little more better. I'm going to eat a little better. I'm going to eat a little bit on the healthier side, maybe have an extra protein shake, you know, something out to balance out the overindulgence of the downing entire pints of ice cream.
People get that twisted too, you know what I mean? And you're absolutely right. And I agree with you, and I do the same thing. But it's like the layperson can hear that. And there's some people who promote it in the entirely wrong way as well, right? To try to get, sorry, I need to shut that.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, cool. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, because like obviously there's people who promote it in the wrong way, right? But it's like, Jesus Christ. Sorry, that fucking threw me off. My furnace came on. I totally lost my train of thought.
All good. I appreciate it. It's all good. All good.
Yeah, we'll come back to that for a second. So what I had to really adjust to, especially when I get on this kick of really pushing heavy weight and actually trying to get strong and trying to gain muscle, which was never my ultimate goal when I was grappling full time, right? Because it's kind of counterintuitive to maximal endurance and, and flexibility and stuff like that on the mat. Was toning it way back. Like, you know, I probably function the best on like 3 full body workouts a week, and then really focusing on recovery, stretching, mobility on the off days. And I still almost never do it. Like, I usually push hard about 4 days a week, full body. But even just a couple weeks ago, I was really starting to feel kind of overtrained, and I was like, I can't be, man. I was looking back at all my sessions, and I'm like, there's dudes who train. But again, it's like, you know what I mean? I'm 35, which isn't certainly old, but I don't feel the exact same as I did when I was 22. There's certain things that you got to recognize, you know what I mean? And recovery and stuff like that. So, yeah, like that's a piece of advice that I would have for people, is just don't fucking be scared of rest. You know, the actual stimulus is, the stimulus and the stress is harming you in real time. Like, it's not good for your body, you know. And dude, I got those heavy sandbags yesterday.
This shit all the time, doing this shit too, and like, you're putting too much stimulant on your brain. Like, you're keeping that thing too close to your eyes. You're on it for too long. Like, you don't understand the long-term damage that does up here.
We're all guilty of that. I know I am. Bad. You know, and it's like I've got a 4-year-old little girl now, and it's like I'm trying to be conscious of it, just how much she even just sees it. You know, me and her mother like looking at our screens and looking at our phones and whatever, and she's obviously got her own tablet and shit. It's the way the world is now. But like, yeah, I you know, want to try to be conscious of that and embed somewhat healthy habits, especially around bedtime and in the evening, because that's a huge piece of everything. You know, even if you're not an athlete, just proper brain function is sleep and proper sleep cycles, and you know, your circadian rhythm. So yeah, that's a big one for me.
Going back to what you were just saying before, but I accidentally cut you off, because it's hard as hell to even get a proper conversation with damn Zoom's delayed. But the 200, I was watching the videos before. These 200-pound sandbags look humbling as fuck.
Have you ever lifted one?
So no, but I've lifted a 220 pound tire. So not necessarily.
Like
Uh,
flipping it?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
like feeling that 220 pound gravity, I've felt something similar, but like actually having to pick up something like an Atlas ball, basically, that's pretty intense.
Dude, like, yeah. So it's like it's something I never really fucked with before, and I always liked the idea of them. I just never had them around. Um, so yeah, recently I ordered a 100 and a 200, and at the advice of a couple buddies, because I had the cart filled up with a 150 and a 300. And they were like, dude,
The
have you
three
lifted
three
sandbags before? I'm
hundred.
like, no, but I'm like, I see people doing it. And I'm like, I think I'm pretty strong. And I'm like, I'm sure the 300 will be tough, but like, I'll grow into it. And they were like, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, you might not want to do that. So I was like, yeah, fuck it. Okay. I'll save like a couple bucks anyway. I'll get the 300 soon. It's like what I was thinking. So I got the 100 and the 200. I filled them up. And honestly, like having no experience with sandbags either, I kind of forgot that like fresh out of the package on a fresh fill, they're not going to have any give. Like the material hasn't stretched out at all. Uh, so like I filled up the 200 and it's like fucking, I could barely get the thing shut. And it was just hard as a brick. It was just rock fucking solid from wall to wall,
Oh,
any angle. So I was like, shit, man, I must have fucking overfilled this. Like this must be like 250. I had to dump some sand out and I fucking weighed it. It was literally like 200.3. So I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, and I see guys lifting them all the time. And I had it all in my head. I'm gonna have this session, I'm gonna hike it up, fucking bear hug this shit. I'm like, and I couldn't even link my fingers around it. Like even vertically,
holy
I couldn't
shit.
even touch my fingers. So I was like, what the fuck? Like I must have got a shitty, like the sandbag must suck. Or, you know, how the fuck big do you have to be? Anyway, so I had a session with it yesterday and I posted some stories of it. And it was ridiculous. I had all these guys messaging me like, yo, dude, like check out you're strong, but like check out the proper technique. Like if you hold it vertical, hike it up to your lap and bear hug it. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I can't,
I
I
can't.
can't fucking hug like it's literally a fucking, it's ridiculous. Um, so this morning I came down to my basement, I drug it to the corner and I realized that it had a lot more play because I dropped it from my shoulders probably like 10 times on the floor. And now I can cinch it enough to actually bear hug it. But I'm way too fucking weak and sore and fucking beat up from yesterday to even think about trying.
I
Probably
mean,
feel
yeah,
too
that's
good to be
essentially a
honest.
200-pound human you're fucking throwing around, just stuffed in a sack. That's exactly what
Dude,
it's.
like I don't lift barbells, and it's not because I don't like them or anything. I just don't really have much access to them. And even if I did, I wouldn't program them too much because it would throw off my other shit that I just have pretty dialed in. But like the most I've ever pulled off the floor in a barbell is probably like 330, which is like heavy, but it's like I could rep it, which is kind of cool for not doing deadlifts. It's like testament to kettlebells and shit. Um,
Yeah.
so I figured I'm like 200, like, okay, cool. Like, you know, I throw double 32 kg the kettlebells over my head and double snatches, and they feel like fucking Jupiter in each hand. But it's a different kind of force. It's a little bit heavier. I'm like, fuck it, man. I'll be able to do it. And oh my god, dude, I don't think I've ever felt something that feels as heavy as that ever in my life. Super
Holy
humbling.
shit.
Uh, I mean, like I'm looking at it right now. That's like I want to go try to lift it, but it's just like staring back at me. But yeah, that's gonna be fucking fun to grow into. And holy fuck, man, like talk about next level strength. Like you know when you do something and like when you know your body and you know mechanics and physiology and the way that muscles work and all this stuff and strength training, and you feel a modality and you're like, wow, this is just some shit that like my nervous system has never felt before at all. Um, Once these
Literally, that
adaptations
was like the
kick in,
moment
it's
I
gonna.
picked up a heavy mace. That's exactly what I felt. The moment I picked up a heavy mace, that's the exact feeling. As soon as I got done doing 360s with it, I put that shit down and I just looked at it for like 10 minutes, like, wow, like I've never felt a workout like this before.
Yeah, so I've pretty much only had this reaction with heavy maces and now sandbags. Like other shit's cool. I mean, kettlebells probably they blew my mind like a decade ago, but it wasn't really in contrast to anything else where I'm already used to kettlebells and I have other stuff going on. Um, but yeah, when I got a mace, it was the same thing. It was just like, wow, I've never felt anything like this. I could tell instantly the type of strength gains that it was going to elicit and the way that it was going to change different like postural aspects in my thoracic spine and my core and stuff like that, which is fucking awesome. And it did. But this shit is just like, fuck, man. Like any voids that are there from my normal training regimen and types of just like leverage being loaded in like deadlift and good morning positions and different squat positions are 100% going to be filled. And even the 100-pound, which is like pretty easy to handle, to be honest. But even the awkwardness of it and the way the sand shifts makes it, probably more than you think. But fuck, man, I was just doing like, picking it up into a deep clean, into like a power shoulder throw, and yeah, I don't even know, man. Like it probably feels way more powerful than fucking double kettlebell snatches, which are like my favorite power movement.
But that's the thing, though. It's not necessarily the weight itself; it's the awkwardness of the weight. Because you look at 100 pounds, like I look at 100 pounds on like a pair of dumbbells, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm a chest press 100-pound dumbbell, it's not a problem. But then I look at a 35-pound mace, and I'm just like, at first I thought, oh, that's not a problem at all. But then you actually pick it up, and then you realize, oh shit, okay, yeah, no, this is different. This is a different kind of strength. This is a different kind of awkward level of not only just strength but endurance. You're going to build off of doing this crazy shit that's the most ancient way to train, but it's also yet see, for me personally, I see it to be the most effective to build strength, being that half my body's fucking broken between my time in service and using shitty like, sorry, motherfucking burning candle for a second. That was weird.
Be careful with that.
Yeah, no, but I just remember I didn't light a candle. That's fucking weird. But yeah, and then having just the years of being not poor, but like being very financially unfortunate. So I wasn't able to get like proper healing, proper therapy for certain parts of my body to heal in proper certain areas. So literally the whole entire left side of my body, from my knees to my hip to the left side of my what's it called? My between my L1 and my L2 on my spinal cord, I have a wedge deformity in my lower left lumbar. So it's then about 4 different tears in this shoulder from a car accident. So yeah, literally the whole entire left side of my body has just been through the ringer and a half. And then didn't help that when I was going through my gigantic weight loss, from when I went from 283 to 202, that I didn't really do it properly, in a sense. That a lot of the weight I was doing was jerking motions, and the long-term effect definitely kicked in. So now just after spending a year and a half of doing everything so slow and doing like proper mechanics and everything else with all these other things in the gym, I've been doing the mace training for now almost a year, and I've got to say, that's probably sped up my recovery and also has completely transformed my view of just overall training.
Yeah, I 100% believe it. Man, there's a lot to unpack there. 283 to
Oh yeah.
202. It's
Oh
funny.
yeah.
I think it was earlier today I saw that. I think you've got a highlight on your IG.
Yeah, the transformation one.
Yeah, holy fuck, man. I was just like, what? I had no idea. That's bananas.
Yeah,
Well
so during
done.
that time frame, I was actually at my lowest as well mentally. That was the time frame where I talked about it a few times. I have no problem talking about it every time, because it's literally, if it's going to connect to somebody I want to actually connect to and have them relate, and to the point that show them that you can come out on the other side better. But during a span of like 4 weeks, lost a father figure of mine, not my father figure, an uncle who helped raise me, who literally lived down the street from me. Lost him, and then 2 weeks later, lost my relationship. Then a week after that, I was released from my I was released from my job, and then I was still doing the National Guard at the time. So I had like about 2 weeks left in that contract, and then boom, I was out of the Guard because I didn't want to resign. I knew exactly where I was mentally, and I knew I wasn't fit for the job, and I saw exactly where I was physically, and I wasn't going to be fit for the job physically either. So literally, my uniform didn't fit anymore. To the point, because I was drinking every night, I was eating shit. It was a very, very, very dark time. But after a certain night on June 26, 2018, when I had attempted my suicide, when I had a suicide attempt and downed a handful of Perks and Vikes and then half a bottle of Jack Daniels and sat in my stomach for 2 seconds, came right back out the next day, well, after a long night of cleaning. It was a long night of tears as well. It was a little bit more of an awakening. Like I had seen it's stereotypical saying, but like the grass was a little greener, the sky was a little bluer. You know, I saw life in a different, a different view at that point, and started to hit the gym for about 2 hours for about 3 months every day. Never took a rest day for 3 months consecutively, and burned off 56 pounds in 3 months. Then yeah, it was very intense. It was very painful. Like I said, like a lot of things I was doing that time frame, I would not recommend for people to lose weight
Of
in the
course.
longevity
Yep.
aspect. But that's where I also, another reason why I became a fitness coach as well, because I want people to do this properly and learn how to do this in a safe manner, but at the same time, like, learn from my mistakes. And during this time frame was a gigantic mistake of how much I wasn't eating and how much I wasn't actually recovering, because I was also working an overnight job and then picked up personal training on the side during that time frame, because the people at the retro, including myself, had curiosity of like, damn, how much I'm pretty good at this. I can actually feel like I can coach somebody through this. And I asked a trainer there, how, can you become a personal trainer? And then the owner at the time allowed me to do some type of like internship where I was learning and doing like school
Oh,
at the
that's
same
good.
time. So I was able to get my certifications online at the same time, as well as doing hands-on personal training, and as well as working the overnight. I went from working the overnight at a marina to then working overnight at fucking Planet Fitness for 2 years. Yeah, the stories I got from Planet
Dude,
Fitness.
I bet.
Oh,
Wow.
I've talked about it with on a podcast episode with one of my old coworkers, who's also now a business owner out here in Long Island for a florist shop, Illinois Florist, who get your flowers there. A little shameless plug for him, but it's came from also then perfecting my craft through there, working on the machines, figuring out that you can hit your body and with the machines, but you don't have to do exactly what the demonstration shows you on the machines. Like you
Yeah.
could actually sit sideways and do a chest press. You can put your feet towards the bottom of the leg extension and do calf work. Like, little things like that is what I was trying to perfect. And also training people for free, because I was still learning at the same time. So I'm still getting paid by the hour. So what the fuck am I going to do besides sit on my ass at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and watching one person come into the gym? Like that one person that came into the gym, but completely empty gym, guess what? They got a training session from somebody who was learning, and they have evidently became a client in the future. Now I still happily work with them. Like this one is that they actually pay for my training after now seeing my progress with, my clients. It's everything that I teach and everything I do is really big on lead from example and set the example for the next trainers that come up, because it's very easy to become a bullshit trainer and a bullshit artist in this fucking industry, where anyone can sell you a bullshit product. Anyone can sell you something that's going to say, yeah, this is the magic pill, just take this or drink this and you'll start losing weight. In reality, it comes from hard work, discipline, dedication, and consistency, and actually recovering and listening to your body. What may work for that fitness influencer may not work for you. You can't keep comparing yourself to that person. Can't keep comparing yourself to these people, because you're not them. You don't know their trials and tribulations. You don't know what they did to the body. You don't know if they're gigantic. They've been athletes their entire life, so they literally had the same exact physique, and they became athletes. I've been a fat kid my entire life, and then I even got fatter after the military. So then what did I do? I got tired of being that fat kid, and then I transitioned into being that fit kid who still has a little bit of a belly, but that's because I enjoy my cake and beer on the weekends.
Fuck yeah, man. Me too. That's what I was going to ask you. Did you like have a period where you blew up or you were athletic earlier? So you kind of just answered that. So this whole thing for you is like relatively new.
Well, I mean, I was always involved with that sports growing up, like baseball, football, wrestling, and then
Yeah.
later on in my life got into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. as the military standards, they say you got a blue belt once you graduate basic and AIT and all this shit. But in reality, when you roll with a blue belt in like real life and like civilian world, you get humbled very fast. So once I was handed a white belt, I take that honor. Let's say you're definitely, I stand by a white belt, but that's only because I don't have much time in between my training personally and then the training of my clients in classes. I'm still trying to figure out that window when I could take a class or two.
Yeah, dude, it's tough, man. You know, and like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu's blown up so much now. It's grown so much versus when I started. When I started, it was like nobody even knew what the fuck it was. Like there was no clubs around. You know, my instructors were brown belts, and I think they were the highest ranked guys in all of fucking Eastern Canada, like east of Montreal. There was like a few, maybe 2 black belts in Canada, I think, maybe at the time.
Oh shit.
It was like, it was fucked, you know what I mean? And now it's like they're everywhere. Even by the time I got my black belt, I got my black belt in 2014. And even at the time, I mean, it's fucking sick to get, but even at the time I was like, man, like it's just not as fucking cool as it was like 10 years ago. You know, like I know all kinds of fucking black belts now. Like, you know, you want to be that diamond in the rough, but jiu-jitsu is tough, right? Like, because it's blown up and all these new people are doing it. And like, I definitely recommend to anybody who comes to me and says, hey, should I try it out? Definitely. You know, I've never traded what jiu-jitsu has given me for anything ever. It's been the most beneficial thing ever in my life, you know, and self-development and everything. But, you know, like everybody's experience is different. You got to be realistic about what you want to get from it and what you expect to get from it, especially in today's day of competition and shit like that. Because the sport side of it has grown so much. And it's like, to really get good and hope to achieve anything in competition, you really just go like a couple times a week and just kind of like bum fuck around. You got to do fucking jiu-jitsu. But then like that demands so much of the body, aside from the time and the social life and the schedule. And
No, it's a physical aspect. If you're getting fucking choked out by somebody who's either bigger or smaller than you, but and also twisting your arm behind your back or snapping your fucking leg or attempting to, it's physical injuries you're trying to heal from.
And it's like, it's a strength training session, depending on how you train. But it's like, you know, the clubs that I came up at, like we always trained really fucking hard. Like classes were 2 hours, warm-ups were pretty quick. We do, you know, techniques, some active like positional drilling and stuff like that. And then it was usually for like the last hour and 20 minutes of class, we would just roll. And like the rounds were always 7 minutes forever, from the time I was a white belt all through black belt, and everybody trained with everybody. And like, it was just fucking bananas, you know? So you're in there, you're training like 5 times, 6 times a week. And every single session has at least an hour of fucking 7-minute matches with like a minute fucking break on the clock. And it was the type of club that's like, you don't really want to sit out or roll. Like, oh, why are you sitting out? Like, don't be a bitch. Like, just fucking roll.
Yep.
You know, if you're fucking tired, it means you're gonna fucking tap out. But don't sit out. Train, which is awesome and it was great. But it's like people ask me now, they're like, oh man, you know, you gain so much size. You're all big and jacked. You do all this crazy training, and you're a black belt. I grapple too. How the fuck do you balance that out? How do you achieve it? Like, how does it? And it's like, I got to be honest. Like, I haven't really grappled in like 3 years. And it's because of the lack of fucking mat time and all those fucking calories spent that I'm able to fucking put on the mass. It's like, it's give or take. You know what I mean? Like, you see these dudes, pro black belts, and not just black belts, but like these guys, who look like fucking pro bodybuilders, but they're jiu-jitsu fighters, and they're like badass at jiu-jitsu. They never really get tired. They got unlimited gas tanks. They carry around a ton of fucking muscle. They're chiseled. And people think that's like real. Because people like forget about the whole drugs thing and just think, oh, well, people just don't really do that. That's just for cheaters. Like, everybody does that, man. Everybody who is real to fucking gain is you know, is certainly gonna do something. And you know, it's like, okay, so I train jiu-jitsu like 4 times a week or 5 times a week, and I roll hard every single session, and I do competitions. Can you write me up a program that will help me gain like 15 pounds of muscle? And it's like, you gotta cut your jiu-jitsu at least in half. You gotta stop rolling for a fucking while. But I don't want to do that. It's like, well, you know, what do you want to get big and strong for? If it's to get better at jiu-jitsu, forget about it and do more jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you fucking get good at jiu-jitsu. You spend time on the mat, you do fucking jiu-jitsu. You don't really worry about anything else. Whoever trains the fucking most and understands mechanics and, and leverage and proprioception is going to be the best. Strength matters when all other things are equal, of course. But it's like, you got to break things down into meta goals. If you want to be the best jiu-jitsu player, do jiu-jitsu 90% of the time and focus on other shit 10%. Don't think, what crazy strength programs I get on that's 4 times a week and has all this fucking volume that's somehow going to make you a better grappler.
Absolutely.
It's going to take away from your mat performance because you're not recovering. And then you're going to roll like shit, get tapped the fuck out, probably get injured, feel like shit mentally because you're training like shit. And then you're going to go back to lift and you didn't recover from your last session, and then your lifts are going to go down. And it's just like, dude, I've been on that road before. Like, you can't balance it out. There was a reason why I was 150 pounds the whole time through my 20s when I was doing jiu-jitsu. I think the heaviest I ever got was like 165. And it was just like unsustainable. The amount that I had to fucking eat was like retarded to even just try to do while I was rolling that much.
Yeah, the amount of calories that you burn just in a single hour of just not only just doing like, Brazilian class, but then that short time frame towards the end of class where you're just rolling, where like the last 20-30 minutes of class is just 5 to 7 minute rolls, and it's like 3 to 5 rolls within that short amount of time. It's very humbling by the time you're done, because you either got your ass kicked, but the amount of the level of exhaustion, and I talked about this with a couple of my coworkers, one who's also does a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who also trains with Joe Darce. It's a level of exhaustion you cannot repeat with any other form of cardio. No matter how much you do on the stairs, no matter how much you do on the even just as far as running, no matter how much mace work, no matter how much you do on the treadmill, there's no level of exhaustion like there is towards the end of your first couple of times, even just trying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like those first couple of classes, I threw up after mine. Like I the first three,
We've all thrown up off the mats many times.
Oh, I straight up threw. I won the first time I made it to the bathroom. The second time I got to my car, drove 2 blocks, then had to pull over. And the third time I finally almost made it home, and then had to pull over, and then it settled in a little bit more. But it literally brings out that point of exhaustion of having to puke your brains up. But every time I got choked out or every time I got tapped out, it's not that I got pissed off. Like it was just like, damn, I could have done this better. It was more just learning experiences than anything else. And the biggest thing that I teach my clients is that one of the things that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu taught me the most was turning lessons into blessings, because eventually you learn some moves and then boom, now you're the one who's now on top choking out versus you getting choked out.
Yeah. It's the hammer and the nail. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to be the fucking nail. There's nothing you can do about it. You just got to get smashed. Just got to take it. And eventually it'll be your turn and then you'll be on the other end. But like, when you're getting smashed, it fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But
very humbling, especially me being 6'3".
Are you 6'3"?
Yeah, I'm 6'3". Right now, I currently weigh 6'3", 212, and the most leanest I ever was doing while Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was 205 pounds at 6'3", and I was getting choked out by somebody who was 5'9" and 231, who was a brown belt. But then I was also getting choked out by somebody who is literally 202 and is lankier than me. And here I am thinking I got a little bit of an advantage because fucking Gumby comes walking in and he's a fucking just a blue belt, and I'm thinking I have a little bit of miss because I've tapped out blue belts and I've tapped out purple belts. Like I've had a little bit of confident boost. Like I don't want to say like I'm half-assed. Like I know I can at least handle myself. Like I can know I'm not going to completely be dismantled and taken down in a matter of 2 seconds. Like I at least know my stances and shit. But I was not expecting the amount of the flexibility behind this kid, because anybody I've ever met who is very lanky and tall, aside from myself, I'm fairly flexible. I am somebody who's my size. I'm fairly flexible because the amount of stretching I do to help heal my body. I was not expecting that same amount of flexibility from him. And then here I am, now completely torn up, twisted up, and he's got me into a crucifix. And I'm just sitting there wondering how the fuck I got there.
Dude, that was the body type that always gave me the most trouble, because like I'm 5'8", so I'm not tall at all, you know. So I was always like 5'8", 155 when I was grappling. So now I'm about between 200 and 205 in the morning is kind of my fluctuation. But
Fucking
that's
boulder.
it's a big ass fucking difference. It's
That's
like
a
I'm driving a completely different vehicle than I'm used to, right? For most of the time.
But he became a walking boulder.
Pretty much, yeah. But that body type of somebody like you, even 6'1" to like 6'3", around, well, yeah, some of the dudes I'm thinking of are probably like 185, 190 at the time, just wiry and strong as fuck. But it's like, I was a black belt, and there'd be like purple belts with that body type would always just like fuck with me big time, because it's like they're like fucking octopuses. Like I'm small, and it's like no matter which way I turn, it's like you can wrap your leg all the whole ass way around my fucking body, and the arms are long as shit. And like, holy fuck, it was just tough as shit. Like I always say, man, when you look at like Keenan Cornelius and these guys, I'm like, just that Langley, long, gangly body type. It's like if you fuck, you develop the skills the right way, it's like you just wrap motherfuckers up like a squid.
Literally, and that's exactly what it felt like being attacked by this guy. Guy was 6'9" and lankiest arms I've ever seen. Like
6'9", really?
Yeah, no, 6'9". I had a little conversation. Had a conversation with him afterwards on how he got involved with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he says, because no one expects someone like me to come onto the mat. No one expects someone like me to come walking through. And I wanted to be that guy who came in, and I wanted to be the one who was the the elephant in the room, but also stood out in every picture once class was done. Yeah, and damn did he fucking stand out. Like I went bouncing around from jiu-jitsu gym to jiu-jitsu gym, and the most knowledge I've ever received was from between Alex and I don't know if you've heard of him, Alex Chris Vamos. They world-class black belts, and by far some of the most knowledgeable trainers I've ever gotten a chance to learn under, because they actually take the time after class to also break down information. Like I'll never forget one night, the most tired I ever, the level of exhaustion I got from this night, I never want to repeat. But I did a no gi, and then I did a gi and then a no gi class right after. And the no gi class, there was just only 3 of us versus the people there was like 20 plus in the gi class. So we got real quality time with Chris Vamos. And I'll never forget those sessions. Like still to this day, this is over. This is pre-pandemic. This is even before my fucking car accident. I just remember the actual quality conversation he was able to give us, the details. Sitting there just talking about each move, and as somebody who's at the same time was pursuing a fitness career, it was appreciated, because as a coach now, looking back, even now, it's a little bit of a heart touch, like a heartwarming feeling, because not that many coaches want or have that time to sit down and really sit with their students and go over everything, as with the level of not only passion but patience as well.
Yeah, it's definitely the mark of a good coach and a good instructor, and a sign that they're in it for the right reasons. Like I was always like that in my jiu-jitsu classes, and it's it's the same now with kettlebell coaching and Mason clubs and different stuff like that, where if you're learning from me, or you're looking up to me as a resource point, I just fucking can't help it. It's like I owe you that. It's like if I taught you that move and I look and I watch you do it, like you think you're doing it right, you're not really fucking doing it quite right. I can't let you go. Like it's like some people get down on that. It's like, well, fuck, you just corrected me like 6 fucking times. Am I ever going to do it right? It's like, it's not to nitpick on you, but like, I want you to fucking do it the right way. Yeah. You will get it right. You will get it right. You will take it away. You will show it to somebody else, or you use it successfully, or whatever it might be. But fuck, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, where would I be in life if people like just watched me do shit kind of halfway the right way, knew they could give me some pointers to do it better, and just like, oh fuck it, he'll figure it out, or he'll just go and fail his next endeavor or whatever. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know why more coaches don't do it. Something that grinds my fucking gears is online, especially lately with it's mostly with kettlebell stuff that I noticed it in, just because it's more like my wheelhouse and what I follow a lot of probably, but is people posting their workouts and tagging their coach, but like perpetually moving like fucking donkeys, like just with ugly ass mechanics, horrible ass fucking form, you know, just exacerbating and hammering in mobility issues and just making them fucking worse, you know, by exaggerating poor patterns and stuff over time. But it's like they're posting for everybody to see. They're always posting, tagging the same coach. They've been paying the same coach for at least 6 months, you know, month on month, getting these programs. Oh, this is great. And I just, and I get it too, now that I'm involved in it and I have some clients of my own. It's like, you don't have all the time in the world. You know, if you get a large handful of clients you're doing programming for, and they're paying you for programming, how much time do you really have to invest in straight up coaching and form correcting fucking everybody and everything that you see? That's like, fuck, that's not really, you know, the greatest mechanics. So like, I get it, but it's like, conversations need to be had. You know, there's got to be a little bit of tough love. It's like, thank you for the shout outs, but it's like, if you're going to be tagging me and associating me with this all the time and promoting to others, like, hey, this is what, like, Josh Wincey, like, cool, and you're just like, you can't even reach your arms overhead, you can't even put a kettlebell straight over your head, you're all fucking locked up in weird ways, you can't, you know, in the backswing, you can't straighten your arms out, you're bending over with bent ass elbows. Like, you can't be tagging me and shit like that, man. Like, I appreciate the exposure, and like, if you're enjoying the workouts, that's all cool, but like, we either have to fix that, and you're gonna have to deal with my fucking nitpicking and maybe my saying like, you're gonna have to pay me for some fucking sessions, because, you know, it's all good. I like, you know, they enjoy the workouts, you're giving me some money for programming, but like, you're doing your body a disservice moving that way over time. I don't really feel comfortable prescribing these movements to you, you know, with progression and increased volume and loads over time, knowing that's how you're moving, you know, and what it's doing physiologically. So it's like, you know, and maybe that's the answer, and coaches don't want to do it. I don't know, but I see so fucking much of it, and I'm just like, dude, you can't. I will never have that. You know what I mean? I'll at least have, and not to say that everybody has to be perfect, but I'll at least have some form of progression. If you tag me in a post that's like, hey, you know, Wincey hooked me up with this workout, you know, I busted my ass today, and your form is like janky as fuck, and then somebody's looking at it and sees you post that same movement 4 months later, there should be a significant difference,
Right.
you know, in your mobility, in your movement and whatever, even if you're still not moving 100% right, because everybody's body's different, everybody's been through a different, you know, experience. People have injuries, mobility issues. Fucking, I've got a chronic disease that's trying to kill me. Doesn't really affect mobility, but other people, you know, have shit. Like, you never know what's on somebody's plate. But there should always be improvement. There should always be progression. And I see a lot of just tires being spun and money being pocketed, in my opinion. And it's just, I don't know, man. It just seems really disingenuous, you know.
But that's what goes back to the conversation before between a good coach and a very poor coach, like somebody who is trying to drain, you know, and bringing the bad name to the coaching industry versus people who are actual nitpickers. Like, the one thing that I made it my New Year's resolution this year to get better with the kettlebells. And I also made it so that this way my clients can now see that it's something that I needed to improve on. And now you get to see now firsthand my progression as well. And people forget as well that when you're a trainer, you're not just you're not perfect with every fucking thing that you do as well. It comes from trials and tribulations. It comes from learning. It comes from taking the time. So when some things are posted and they say, like, I want to do it just like that, and then you go to try to attempt to do it and you don't get the same results, it's literally because most of us have started with the basics. Like, I haven't touched, this is my like towards the end of last year was my first time touching a heavier kettlebell more than 35 pounds. Or sorry,
Right.
more than 25 pounds. And I'm only just getting used to this fucking work. And I'm barely
Yeah.
posting it up because I'm working on it almost 3 to 4 times per week. But if you saw my first clean video versus where I'm at right now, like it goes back to what you said. Like if you're gonna post something like that, make it a progression video. Like show it that it's not just something that you're just picking up to do like a hot quick clip because it's the fucking trendy workout. Like no, if you're posting it now, make sure you keep up that same fucking energy and post it again in the future to show that
But
you've
this is
actually
the
been
thing
working
with
on
these
it.
guys. It's like you're fucking recording yourself. You're recording every set. I don't even have to tell you, hey, you know what? Fuck, I just saw you work out. You know what? Start recording yourself, compare it. You're already doing it. And you're posting it for everybody to see. And you're following all these people who move properly. Like, fuck, you know what I mean? Between you and
Yeah,
your coach, there should be something. There should be something changing there. Or there should be something at least being addressed. At least
absolutely.
being addressed. And it's like, not that you always have to explain yourself, but especially from a coaching perspective. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if you're my client and you've got elbow injuries or shoulder injuries or something, you can't fully lock out a vertical stack overhead. Um, so your overhead position like looks kind of fucked up, but people will be like, yo, dude, like straighten your
It
fucking
is.
elbow out, getting your arm out there or whatever. So it's like,
Stuck
yeah,
right here.
it's like
You're
you want to be
stuck.
completely straight, but some people can really only get like this. Like a buddy of mine, Tony, weightlifting doc. I don't know if you follow him. He's fucking nice.
Absolutely. Shout out to weightlifting
Nice
doc.
with rotational shit. Jesus fuck, the dude's forearms are made of
200-pound fucking kettlebell too. Yeah, the way he swings that fucker. And someone also who has the statue of himself as well, picking up 200-pound kettlebell and swinging the way he does.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
dude,
it's fucking
and
incredible.
the volume he puts in with his like 30-minute sets of fucking club mills and mace swings and shit, it's bananas. But when you watch him, he's been posting more kettlebell stuff lately, doing snatches and different stuff, and his overhead position's a little bit fucked up. But people give him a ton of flack for it, as if he doesn't know better. And it's like, dude knows how to lift. He's been around. He's a fucking chiropractor as well. He understands the body and alignment and stuff like that. So I had messaged him one day to say, yo, like nice work on the snatches and stuff like that. I suspect you have some like elbow injuries and stuff like that because it's not lining up. He's like, yeah, 100%. Both my elbows from this, that, the other thing. Show me videos of like doing like a barbell snatch and same thing, the overhead position. He's like, this is just where they fucking go, that there's nothing I can do about it now type of thing. And stuff like that's all good. But it's like if I had a client like that who was tagging me repeatedly and all this stuff, who I know is getting flack from people who understand movement mechanics, looking at it going, yo, that's not totally fucking right, or whatever it is. From a coaching perspective, as I'm reposting my tags and shit like that, as coaches do, I'm gonna put a little blurb in there, something like, yo, get off my fucking boy's balls. Get off his back. Like, yeah, I see that alignment. As a matter of fact, he's got issues X, Y, and Z, and he's still fucking busting his ass, probably better than you. It's all good, and here's where he started from. But
I would love to see people do anything he does for even 30 minutes with a 5-pound kettlebell. I would love to see 30 minutes of the flips that he's been doing lately as well. The hand-eye coordination it takes to land each grip and make sure that you're not dropping it on your toes, first of all.
yeah.
But then to do it so clean and to do it for so long as well. Like I'm burnt out after 5 to 10 minutes. I can't go for 30 fucking minutes. Like the 30 minutes is
He's all
consecutive.
about
That's
high volume set. Kills the high volume sets. It's funny because like before I even really got so I got my mace, and I only picked up a mace for the first time in July. So
you're fairly new to this shit too as well. May was me. May was mine.
Yeah, in the rotational stuff, super new. So I had a couple club bells, 15-pound club bells, that were pretty long and they were weighted nicely, lent to me like 10 years ago by a jiu-jitsu buddy. But I was like small, not nearly as strong as I am now. I didn't know anything about them. I had just gotten into kettlebells. And I was just like, these are just like useless. They're just big, awkward, heavy, lanky. Like, and I just, what I mean? I just like, what the fuck am I going to do with this thing? And YouTube wasn't quite what it is. Like the resources weren't really out there. And then I never really thought about it again. But I remembered understanding or kind of doing a mill with one and realizing, oh, it's not actually holding it overhead and trying to fucking throw it. it's letting it fall and letting your whole, shoulder and elbow follow the path and everything. So once I started seeing more mace stuff online over the last year or two, and I decided to get into it and stuff. And my buddies at shout out CK Mace Works. If you don't follow them, hit them up. Best adjustable maces for sure. They sent me one, and so I was like, all right, cool. Like, so I had like a bit of an idea of how to swing it, where most people swing a mace for the first time, like having no fucking clue what they're doing, and have that issue where you're trying to hold it up and you're like haloing above your head and some weird shit. So I never had that issue because I understood the leverage and you have to drop it and stuff like that, which I think is why I learned to swing it relatively quickly. But yeah, man, I'm super new with maces and clubs. And so I got my mace and I was like, okay, this is dope as fuck. This is amazing. Like we talked about earlier, I was like, I know exactly what this is going to do to my body. I've never felt anything like this. Well, if this is so amazing, fuck, I got to get some clubs to do like one-handed shit with. And I was watching Tony do all these crazy sets, including with my the White Line Athletics Belovas that I have, which are like short maces. So they look just like a steel mace, but they're 29.5 inches as opposed to 40 or whatever the maces usually are. And there's an 8 kg and a 10 kg that they make. And they're just like, they're two of my absolute favorite tools that I have. I wish they'd make a little bit of a heavier one just to do some two-handed stuff with, because the length is really nice. The feedback is almost the same as a mace, but you can do full-on club movements with it too. And it's way harder than a club of equal weight because it's completely top weighted and it's way fucking longer than a club. So the torque and the force that it adds are fucking bananas. But he's posting shit of like doing these crazy like marathon sets to fucking mills with those. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to get some clubs, and I hit up White Line. I was like, I'm going to get both of those Belovas, and they showed up. And it's like the only person I'd seen use them was Tony. So they showed up, and I unboxed them and I picked them up, and I was just like, and I just sat there, like just silently, just staring at them, just like, what the fuck? Totally mind blown. Because I figured like, oh, the 8 kg, like that'll be like my light club. I'll use that. I'll just hammer out fucking mills for days. I'll do long ass sets with it. And it was like, I literally could do like maybe 3 reps with it. And it would just go flying out of my hand. And I go back on weightlifting doc, watch Tony's video again. I'm like, yeah, that's the same fucking one he's using. And he's just going and going and going and going. What the fuck?
Yeah, it
So
makes you appreciate once you start it to really see how he moves and how long he moves actually. And then I'm also an ADEX club swinger and arc swinger, and the mace. Shout out to Donnie G from ADEX. Me and him are very close, and I also did a podcast with him last year. And I gotta tell you, like the first time I picked up that arc model, which is something similar to that other one where it's like not really a club.
Looks really nice,
and especially it's a fat grip too. The first time I picked that thing up and I maxed the weight out to the 28.5, I picked it up with both hands and I had it up in the straight up position. I was just getting ready for a 360, and as soon as I went to go for the position, my body weight almost went with it. Went, oh shit! Like off to the side, like okay, all right, this is gonna take some time. And over time, they've gotten better with it. Like today was actually my first time doing dual. Like I had never got so comfortable of doing like dual wheel stuff because I never had like 2 of each. So I did one with the mace and then one with the arc because that's one's a little similar in weight comparison. The arc is 4.8 with no weight, and then the mace is 6.5 with no weight. So similar to the weight comparison, but just doing 3, I was already burnt out in my forearms, and then I go for the other arm, and this arm is literally about to give out as I'm getting to the third, and then here's Tony for 20 minutes just doing 2 dual wheeled, and it's nonstop.
It's nuts, and it speaks to like the specific adaptations too. In any sport, in any motion, you're going to have the specificity and the specific adaptations that will apply. It's like what could I do to prime my grips and my forearms and shit to be able to do that? Nothing. You got to do that and build it up to that. Like it's specific to that, because then I see him do some other shit and it's like, he's a great athlete. He's really strong, but like, it's not the same. for how fucking mind-blowing he is with what he can do and how long he can hold these fucking things. You know what I mean? And knowing how that feels on the tendons and everything else. To then seeing the weight he lifts with kettlebells and barbells and whatever, which is still more than the average fucking person, don't get me wrong. But it's like, with my experience, it's like, I'm almost the opposite way. Where I'm like, fuck, I'm pretty strong with kettlebells. I can lift some heavy bells. I've got some decent endurance. I do crazy shit with them. Surely I'll be able to handle this fucking 12 kg club. And it's like, not really. Not nearly the same way. You know what I mean? It's
all right, guys. So real quick, we're just gonna take a little break, or if we're at the end of the episode, I hope you enjoyed. But I just want to talk a little bit more about these products that you see that are always stacked up behind me: the Jaco Go, the Jaco Milk, the Jaco Pomegranate White Tea, the Jaco Krill Oil, the Jaco Cold War. Basically I got half of their products, majority of their products stacked up behind me for good reason, because I actually take them, and I'm not one of these guys that actually just pushes their products out there and just says like, here, yeah, try this without taking it. Like, no, before I even became sponsored with this company, I took it for about 2 straight years, and hands down the best products I've ever taken when it comes down to recovery and as well as my average day-to-day lifestyle. So one thing I do want to promote, the first is the Jaco Go, this can right here. So Jaco Go is not like your regular energy drink, and it's not even anything compared to what's on the market right now. Basically, compared to the other companies where it's anywhere between 150 to 200 plus milligrams of caffeine, or they have beta alanine in their drink as well. Basically, you're shaking, you're jittery, your face itches over a long period of time, and eventually you start losing some sleep because you're drinking an excessive amount to even stay up with the crash. Jaco Go doesn't give you any of that shit. So, being that it's under 100 milligrams of caffeine, 95 milligrams of caffeine, and it is also natural caffeine for the body to indulge in, meaning that it's not something that's pumped up into chemically in a lab, meaning that it's actual real sources of caffeine that are broken down and as well as sweetened with monk fruit, compared to other companies where they're sweetened with sucralose and they're sweetened with stevia. Jaco Go sweetens with monk fruit. So if you're looking for an alternative energy source in the morning that has a little bit more of a fruitier taste, you're not a coffee person, I highly suggest you get you some Jaco Go. Order online at originmain.com, and definitely use my code Welsh10 at checkout, WELSH 10 at checkout, and I'll save you an additional 10% off the order at the end when you purchase. I can't fucking speak English, but yeah. So sorry, I know this is not like the most amazing plug of all time, but just want to talk a little bit more about those products. So if you're looking for that alternative energy source, Jaco Go. And we're also going to talk a little bit more about the Jaco Milk. So Jaco Milk is a money saver, essentially, just because if you bought each one of the different supplements that is infused with the protein powder, you bought them separately and you happen to buy them at a higher quality, meaning that you're going to pay a little bit extra, you'd pay anywhere between $200 to $300. So the amazing people and the amazing scientists over at Origin Main created this Jaco Milk that has digestive enzymes, probiotics, essential amino acids, and an amazing clean form of protein that, when all infused together, you get you get a super saver for your wallet, but two, you also get an amazing product that your body is going to thank you in the long run, because you're getting the max recovery out of a protein powder, and you're also saving yourself a shit ton of money. Let's be adults here. You're saving yourself a shit ton of money just by getting Jaco Milk when it's $44.95, and I use my code Welsh10, WELSH 10 at checkout. You'll save yourself an additional 10% off your order. Oh my god, something just came up in my stomach. That's fucking nasty. Anyway, highly encourage you, get yourself some Jaco Milk, get yourself some Jaco products, save yourself a little bit of extra money by using code Welsh10 at checkout. Let's get back to the episode.
It's pretty crazy. But as strong as I've gotten with clubs and maces, I've had to dial back my kettlebell programming because I quickly learned how much respect you have to give these tools if you're training them heavy. Because it's like everything, right? People message me all the time, like, how did you make all those gains with kettlebells? And they see my before and afters, which look crazy. You know, even to me, they kind of freak me out to look at them. Like, I don't really like looking at them, to be honest. It's just fucking weird because I feel like I just look like a cancer patient or like I was dead or something before. And it's just bizarre. Like, it's just weird mentally. But I put them up because it's crazy as fuck. I'm trying to promote my thing.
Because it's important. I do have clients that are also looking to put on weight, and showing clients now that I'm also now, it's similar to I'm for the first time since my weight loss this year, I'm actually putting on weight again. So I went from 205 in the beginning of the year. Now I'm at 215 comfortably, steadily increasing my rate. But it's important to show off that your transformation like that, because the amount of people that they say like, oh, what do you do? Like, eat and train and pick up some heavy shit. Eat, train, pick up some heavy shit, and sleep properly. Get some good sleep in. Get some good recovery in.
Consistently for a long fucking time. You know, it doesn't happen overnight, right? Like, and it's like I like putting up the before and afters too, because it's easy for people to look at me. Not that I think I'm anything fucking crazy, but it's easy for people to look at my videos and think, assume, or because I mean, it could be possible. Maybe I've been this size forever. Maybe this is just what I naturally look like. And I just like lift some weights. I'm strong, but it's like maybe I'm that guy who just always looks kind of athletic. And people know I've been into jiu-jitsu and into strength training and stuff since I was a teenager. So to see me now, but it's like I take a lot of fucking pride in it because it's like I haven't looked like this. I haven't had this body. This is not natural for me at all to just be this way. You know, what was natural, and I'm using the word natural pretty loosely here, but you know, what was natural and normal for me without steady application, consistency, and fucking grind was to be like 150, 160, you know, and to look like the dudes in the before picture. And I made a decision about 3.5 years ago that and at the time I was a bit undertrained and kind of out of shape, and my training had just fallen apart in the handful of months leading up to that. My daughter was born and like life was just fucking busy. But I just made a decision where I was like, fuck, man, I'm just going to apply myself consistently every day. You know, I'm not grappling much anymore. Now I've got a new baby and other shit's popping off at home, and I can't really for a period of time, but I got all my bells. I have all this fucking knowledge that I've gained over the years, and I've always been a geek reading about periodization and programming and nutrition and all this shit. So I was like, what if somebody came to me and was like, yo, I'm like 150, I feel out of shape, I've got all these tools, or this is the tools I have, and I want to get really fucking strong and I want to put on a lot of muscle, what would I prescribe to that person? And I just did it for myself. You know, it was like, this is exactly what I would tell the person. I've always been able to do that stuff. I've never looked like the big, strong jack guy because it wasn't the lane that I was in. And I was like, you know, what would I tell myself if I was a client? What would I do? And I just treated it that way. I just tried to separate myself and just go there. Well, this is what I would tell somebody else to do. This is what you fucking know. You know the principles. This is it. Just fucking do it. And that was it, right? And I just started doing it. And then obviously things progress and evolve, and you progress your training and your volume, and you change things. But it's like now you flash forward 3.5 years later, and like, yeah, now I'm 50 pounds heavier. I'm way bigger and stronger and all this stuff. But it's like, that's 3.5 years of 24/7 effort. It's like, if I'm not working out, I'm eating. And I'm type 1 diabetic. So I'm obsessing about food and what's going on in my body and what I'm eating 100% of the time anyway. I have to stay alive. But I was even like, I'd start like maximizing stuff where I'd be like, okay, well, you know, I know insulin is a storage hormone, and I know bodybuilders abuse insulin with other drugs. So I'm not going to abuse my insulin because I can't really. People also think that like, oh, you're type 1 diabetic, you inject insulin, it must be easier for you to make gains. And it's like, nah, homie, no, you have no idea. My body
is also stupid expensive.
Oh, dude, of course. You know, and my insurance company is going to know if I'm jacking 3 times my prescription amount, right? Like it's not like that. But I started realizing, like, okay, I know what insulin does. It is a storage hormone. So, you know, if I had to, for instance, like if my blood sugars were a little bit high and I have to take a correction dose of insulin to drive that sugar out of my blood back into my muscle cells, into my body, then I go, okay, well, since I'm putting active insulin into my body to function, even though it's a correction dose for my blood sugars, I'll slam 2 scoops of whey protein right now at the same time. Because that's not really going to have an impact on my blood sugar, but I'm fucking, you know what I mean? I have to be taking insulin anyway. It's going to be taking nutrients out of my blood and putting it in my muscle cells. So I'll just make sure that there's protein. And it's what people do anyway. It's why that conventional wisdom, like after your workout, have a meal with carbohydrates, maybe some fast digesting carbohydrates and some protein. The carbohydrates, and you hear about it, it's like you want to spike your insulin with your carbs. Get your insulin up, drive the carbs back into your muscles, refill your glycogen, and also drive the protein and the amino acids into your muscles too. And that's what insulin does. If I just eat a bunch of carbs, it won't fucking spike any insulin. I don't fucking make any. It'll just accumulate in my blood and poison the fuck out of me and kill me. Right? So it's like I can give myself an insulin spike in the absence of carbs just by injecting it. I can't really use that to my advantage by using it only for protein, because it is still going to suck all the glucose out of my blood and put me into a coma if I don't have adequate glucose to replace it. But I don't even know if that really did anything. It was just like an idea I had earlier on where I was like, fuck, I'm really trying to gain. Okay, cool. Like, if I'm taking insulin for a meal, that's one thing. But like anytime I take insulin, I'm just going to make sure that I have protein being digested at the same time. And I've always been like a geek with my diabetes because I want to stay alive. I don't want to be that dude who fucking loses his feet and has a fucking heart attack when he's 50 or 60, or you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm that dude who, like, I never get a full night's sleep. Almost every single night, I set 1 or 2 alarms to go off through the night so I can get up, check my blood sugars, see what's going on, see if I need to correct. And my health thanks me for that, even though my sleep cycles are fucked most of the time. Because so many, like, dude, it's like before I used to do that, and before I got a continuous glucose monitor, I would go to bed at night, test my sugars, be, say, in the normal range. I'd wake up in the morning, I would test, I'd be in the normal range. I'd be like, I'm fucking acing this shit. And then I'd get a continuous glucose monitor, and I'd notice how many nights I go to bed in range and I wake up in range, but through the night, all kinds of fucky shit happens. And maybe for 7 hours through the night, I was like dangerously high glucose, which is doing irreparable damage and deteriorating your cells in your body. And that's where diabetic complications come from, like elevated glucose levels over time. Just anytime your blood has too much glucose in it, it is poisoning your body. And that's how people go like blind. They get neuropathy and things like that. Like it causes nerve damage. So that's why diabetics will like lose feeling in their fingers and their toes, go blind, get eye damage and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's that type of stuff that usually gets attacked first, attacks your blood vessels and all kinds of crazy shit. And it's all irreparable and it's all cumulative over time. So it's like the key to longevity as a diabetic is reducing the overall amount of time that your blood glucose is too high, right? So many diabetics don't set alarms through the night because people don't take care of their health, generally speaking, as well as they should. And diabetics are no different, unfortunately. And when I started getting the continuous glucose monitor and seeing what would happen at night, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, that's fucking crazy. It's like my body was destroying itself for 6 hours straight. And I wake up in the morning and it's dipped back down. And I'm like, fuck, it's been perfect all night. And it hasn't been. And what if that happens every night? What if that happens every night for the next 20 fucking years? That's a lot of fucking time, that my body's being
a lot of deteriorating. Yeah.
And like, so it's like, yeah, I set alarms to get up through the night, and often I have to fuck with it. But earlier on, it's like I'd get up through the night. It's 3 a.m. I'll like stumble out to the kitchen, fucking check my blood sugars. Oh shit, it's a little bit too high. I'm gonna take 2 units of insulin before I go back to bed. Okay, I'll just fucking slam a scoop of whey protein too. It takes 2 seconds. But I know I'm putting insulin in. I know I'm taking nutrients that are in my blood right now to slam them into my muscles. Might as well throw some protein in there too. You know what I mean? It's going to help me hit my protein targets anyway. But the timing of it, in my mind, almost made it more ideal, because it's like for the average bro wisdom, it's like, when's the best time to eat protein? With an insulin spike. So your shit's going to absorb and whatever, right? So I don't know whether it did anything or not.
I mean, clearly it did some positive work because of the amount of the transformation you've gone through is incredible. But I wanted you to go in much detail with that as possible because a good portion of my family is also diabetic as well.
Yeah.
One of my spoke about it earlier. My uncle who passed away, he happened to have gotten to the point where his diabetes had eaten away and done as much damage as they did, where they had to cut off part of his foot.
Yeah.
So it was everything that you just said. It was just like that's literally. I'm thinking of all my family members that have exactly what you're talking about, and it's just like I this is not only this is another reason why I did this podcast was because the information that you have is something that can literally save lives right now, because the amount of people who are misinformed, especially in a gigantic era of misinformation, to hear someone like yourself, I went with that one, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's another topic. But overall, though, it's very important because especially in a country where they push a lot of the fast food and all the in areas where it's like poverty ridden, in areas where it's very hard to maintain like very healthy lifestyles, and there's more fast food restaurants than there are grocery stores that actually have quality products. Like these are the things where it's if you are unfortunately diabetic, like it's important for you to hear that just because you have it doesn't mean that you can't train. It doesn't mean that you can't eat these things. It doesn't mean you can't do certain things. Like obviously, yes, you're limited to certain things, but at the same time, you're not completely eliminated from living out your best lifestyle in a healthy manner versus completely subduing yourself to whatever mental obstacles you're allowing yourself to fall into. And these traps that you're stuck in can easily get yourself out of. It's just a matter of you staying consistent and actually disciplined and a little more dedicated towards your results, instead of you waking up in the middle of the night and then pounding out a thing of chocolate milk or whatever. You actually down a protein shake instead with your insulin. Like, and especially tracking your sugars overnight, like that's huge. The amount of people that don't understand, like that's actually a very crucial point, is that you actually check that overnight part of where your sugars are at, because if you dip to a certain point, like that's a very scary number you could dip and stay. And if you stay at that point throughout, God forbid you dip in the matter of like your first hour of your sleep, and now you got 6.5 to 7 hours of staying that low. Like that's a very scary thing to be worrying about. If you
Yeah.
could just live a little more healthier lifestyle, you can eliminate that factor.
Low or high, right? So it's like we'll talk about the types of diabetes for a minute, because it sounds like your family, the people you're talking about would be um, type 2
Yes.
diabetes. I That's a little bit ignorant, but I assume
No, no,
probably
you're right. You're right.
yeah. So both have like a huge genetic component to them. So you should, especially with your previous health and lifestyle issues, be hip to that.
Hmm.
And throughout your aging process, be aware of some of the symptoms. Because even though you're very healthy now, if it's sort of looking more prevalent in your kind of genetic family tree, with metabolic damage that you may have done to your body in the past, it could still creep up on you in certain ways in later in life as type 2. Probably not, because you're doing all the right things. You're doing all the things that a doctor would say. Should you be pre-diabetic or have type 2, they would say do all the things you're doing. Right. So
Right, but then there's cases like yourself where it's like you got diagnosed at 27, and here I am at 26. Like these are things that's like these are important
yeah,
conversations I love having, because now it's giving me a little bit more of like that heads up, like these are things to
yeah.
look out for just in
And so
case.
my form of diabetes can hit you at any point, no matter what the fuck you're doing or what you've done, because it's just an autoimmune disease. It's not reflective of anything or your body type or anything that you've done. It's just kind of like arthritis, right? Arthritis is an autoimmune disease where your immune system attacks your joints and
Right.
fucks them up, and there's really nothing you can do about it other than treat it a little bit. But it's like it's your body destroying itself because it's making an error. Or type 1 diabetes is the same, in that physiologically everything's normal. Most type 1 diabetics are like not overweight to begin with, relatively fit, whatever. Like there's a profile for type 2 diabetes and people who are at risk. there is no profile for a type 1. It's just for whatever reason, your immune system freaks the fuck out and just destroys all your insulin producing cells permanently. And then the act is over. You just don't regenerate those cells. So like you have to inject insulin or you die. And it's a completely different disease than type 2 diabetes, even though they sound the same. Like I used to think, oh, it's like they're basically the same, and one's like a progression or one's like a different version, and they're not the same. They're the same in that they share a similar consequence, where the consequence is elevated blood glucose. Mm-hmm. And then the consequences of elevated blood glucose are the consequences of elevated blood glucose. So like the health complications that a type 1 or type 2 may experience are very similar in that, like neuropathy, blindness, foot loss, limb loss, heart attack, stroke, all that fun stuff. But what's actually going on in the body with the disease is in no way similar, really. So it's like a type 2, to like make it short, is just insulin resistance, really. Like there's a lot more to it, but it's mostly insulin resistance. So your body's still making insulin, but it's either not making enough because it's gotten a little bit weak, and or your body has developed a resistance to its own insulin. So even though your pancreas gives you enough to handle the glucose dose that's in your blood, it just doesn't take enough of it out. And then there's no more to take out the excess. So your blood glucose stays high, and all that damage we've been talking about happens over time. So type 2 diabetics are the ones that go undiagnosed for a long time. And some people get diagnosed with it because they're like, fuck, I like went half blind. Or like I lost feeling in my foot. And then the doctors are like, holy fuck, you've had diabetes for like 10 years. Like you're fucked. And like you just didn't know. It's like, you probably should know, but people just don't listen to their bodies, or, you know. And it's like, yeah, how often do you pee? And it's like, oh, 60 times a day. Get up through the night 50 times to take a piss. And it's like, okay, that's not normal, man. Like you probably should have gotten that checked out, you know, before you went blind, or whatever it is. That's an extreme case, but it's like type 2 diabetes. You can live a long time with it because you still have some insulin. So like you're staying alive, your body's getting some nutrients, not all that it should, but it's wreaking havoc on you long term. And then usually by the time you experience or realize those complications, you can't really fix them, and like people get really fucked up by it. Whereas type 1, once the immune system does its little fucking thing, zaps out the pancreas, you now have zero insulin. And like you can't live very long at all with no insulin. And people ask me all the time, like, oh, fuck, like how long, you know, do you think this, that, or the other thing? Or you went a long time having type 1 before you knew you had it? Or like, what can I look out for? Like, I think I might have it because like this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, you can't, like you will die within like a week, like fast. You know, I went from being totally normal, totally fucking, you know, top of my game, badass brown belt training, fucking every day, lifting on the weekend. And like, I think I lost, like I went from 165 to like 144 in like 10 days.
Oh,
just out of nowhere.
That's a major drop.
Out of nowhere. And like, I wasn't doing anything to lose weight. And it was like, I'd start to feel like a little bit tired. And at the time I was like OCD about everything. So I was weighing myself like every day and all this shit anyway, just to know where I was for jiu-jitsu and all this stuff. And it's like every morning I'd wake up and I'd be like 3 pounds lighter and feel like shit. And I'm like, fuck, like why, you know, I'm feeling overtrained. I'm like, okay, like I need to eat more calories. So I eat like 3 extra meals that day. And then that would make me feel way fucking worse. But despite eating all that, I'd wake up the next morning down 5 more pounds. Like, what the fuck is going on? And then it got to what probably, like, it didn't go on that long, maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks tops. And by the end of it, like, I can remember I tried to work out on a Saturday. And I had been doing like, if you ever heard of Rite of Passage with kettlebells, it's like a pretty stock, like Pavel.
Yes, I actually just heard I'm not even gonna, like 2 weeks ago was the first time I've heard about it.
Yeah, so like I'm not a huge hardstyle like Pavel fan, to be honest, with kettlebells, but it's not a bad program. You're not going to make like real gains if people ask me, hey, how do I make gains like you with kettlebells? It's not doing shit like that, but it's a decent program. Yeah, and it's a good program to do if you're doing other shit, in my opinion. Like I thought it was good to do at the side of jiu-jitsu, because it's a single bell program. It's not a ton of, like, I don't know, you're doing clean and press ladders basically with some pull-ups in between with one bell, and then finishing with swings. But I had been doing it with a 32, which was really fucking heavy for me at the time because I was pretty small, but like it was manageable. And I remember going in on a Saturday feeling like fucking ass, and I had already lost like probably 8 or 9 pounds, didn't know what was going on, and I literally couldn't fucking pick the bell up. Like I couldn't do it. Like I cleaned it and I was just like couldn't fucking hold it. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like I can't fucking lift it. Like I literally can't. Like I've never felt so weak in my life. And I was still just like, fuck it, I must be overtrained. I'm just gonna take like a week off. And I'm gonna take a week off and I'm gonna get a fucking weight gainer powder, because obviously I'm not eating enough. And I'm just gonna slam like 10,000 calories a day. That's just what I'm gonna do. Because like I didn't know what was happening, right? Like it was fucked. And then like a couple more days go by. This was on a Saturday, and by the Wednesday, which was the day of my diagnosis, and I was still going to work and shit somehow. Like I just ignored. Like I'm not good with realizing that I'm sick. That's probably why I'm good at grinding and beating myself up in the weight room. It's just like, fuck it, I'm alive. I can move. I'm okay. I'll just fucking go. And I remember sitting at work that morning, and it was 9 a.m. And I'm not exaggerating, Tim. Like I swear to fuck, it was 9 a.m. and I had drank 2 liters of orange juice, a gallon of water, a fucking big ass thing of fountain pop. All of this, I drank all of it by 9 a.m. and I'm sitting at work, and I was getting my coworkers to run to the lunchroom and just get me big cups of fucking ice out of the ice machine nonstop. And I was like, I don't know, I could fucking put a straw in Lake Michigan and drink the motherfucker, the whole thing, right now. Like my mouth, it was like I smoked fucking 10 blunts and chewed up a brick.
Oh
Like
shit.
it was fucked. And I was having to run to the bathroom. And I think that day, by the time I got off work, so like I worked a full day, and I think I counted, like I went to the bathroom and pissed like 35 times. Like
Holy
legit, like
shit.
actually. And these were like Austin, like what, if you remember like the Austin Powers flicks from back in the day.
Yeah, fucking gold
Dude
member
gets, when dude gets unfrozen, there's a scene where like he takes a piss and he's just like his piss goes on just like forever. And it was like that every time, like 35 times, just sitting there for like 2-3 minutes, just like, how the fuck can I piss this much? It was completely fucked. And then I realized like, okay, like I'm like, I felt like I was dying, basically. I didn't know how to explain it. I felt like I was dying. And so I started Googling like these symptoms. I'm like extreme thirst, dry mouth, urination, like I was getting fucking like black floating spots in my vision and shit like that too. It was like really fucked up. And then Google pre-populated like continued my sentence basically. I put in like these 4 symptoms, and then it just fucking goes bam and lists all these other symptoms. And I had all of them, every single one of them. And it was like type 1 diabetes.
Ooh.
So I was just like, fuck. Okay, like I'm being a hypochondriac here. Like I probably don't have type 1 diabetes, but I was like, I literally have every single symptom of diabetic ketoacidosis that's being listed here. And that means like you're dying, like you're not going to make it very long with that shit. And the fact that I was still conscious was weird. So so this is funny. I joke with my wife. We were engaged at the time, and I'm like, I message her and I'm like, babe, I'm pretty sure I have type 1 diabetes. And she just like rips my fucking head off. No, you're a fucking idiot. No, you don't. You always do this. Stay off the fucking internet. Like, no, you don't. You know, you'd know it if you had type 1 diabetes. I remember she said that. You'd fucking know it. And I was like, but this is what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure I do know it right now. Like, I'm pretty sure I've hit that point, and this is what it is. So I was like, I'm going to go to my mom's place after work and use my stepdad's glucose tester just to see. And she's like, don't fucking do that. You're going to, you know, your mother, all this shit. Like, don't fucking do that. It's nothing. So I did. So I went to my parents after work, and I fucking pricked my finger, put it on this thing, and it just starts sounding this like weird fucking alarm, like super loud out of this little handheld meter. And it was just flashing the word high on the screen. And I'm just sitting there, I was like, what does this mean? He's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, like I've never seen that before. I've never even seen it do that before. Like it won't even give you a reading. Like you got to go to the hospital right the fuck now. So we went to the emergency room, and I sat down with the triage nurse, and she's this probably like 90-year-old fucking lady. And I sat down, give her we're in Canada, so it's like you can just go to the hospital and get treated, leave, and don't owe anybody a fucking dime. right? So yeah, that's the way it works here, which is really surreal. And it's like, that's the way it is here. It's the way our healthcare system works. But like walking into a hospital, immediately being fucking admitted, hooked up to all kinds of shit, being told like you're almost fucking dead. You know, like you shouldn't even be alive talking to us. We can't believe you're conscious. Like this is fucked. And then all this crazy shit getting hooked up, given insulin, books, taken care of, like brought back to life. And then all of a sudden, like there's nobody even around. And they're just like, yeah, a nurse pokes her head in and she's like, oh, you can go. I'm like, I can go. And
I was just dying.
Like I wanted to cry. I was like, I can't just walk out of here. Like, where's all the fucking like, where's all the people that like just saved me? Not that I want to like pay them because it's not the way that works. But I'm like,
but thank them and like find out.
Really weird. Like tons of times in my life, I had to go to the emergency room for whatever sickness or little injury, and like you get treated and you leave. It's just again, it's the way it works in Canada. But I had never like died basically, and just had it be such just like a casual thing that it's like, you know what I mean? No formalities, no like shaking hands, no thank you, no like, hey, I'll just get up and go. Like you're cool. You got your prescriptions, you got all the shit we gave you for free. Like it's all good. Like it's really weird. But anyway, sat down in the emergency room, and the way this shit works, it's like you go and you register. You have a what's called like a health card, which is like your provincial health insurance that everybody has just by being a citizen. It doesn't give you like prescription drug coverage and some shit like that. But it's like if I break my fucking arm or some shit like that, I will walk into the hospital, get my shit completely fixed, get all the surgery I need if I need it, and I'll just go home. That's it. Don't say fuck all, I don't get a bill or nothing, right?
Oh yeah, no, you come to America and that should happen, especially here in New York. You're walking out with a minimum of at least $10,000, and that's even with insurance.
I've heard how much it costs to have a baby. Like in your fucking country. I don't even know how that's even possible, how people do have kids and shit. Like
where I'm from, people have 5 to 6 kids.
We had our daughter and we got one bill from the hospital, and it was because there was like an upgrade to the room that she stayed in that wasn't covered under the provincial health insurance. And our total bill for it, and it was like an emergency birth, an emergency section. They had to use a device they've never used before to push the baby back up through the birth canal because she was stuck out back into the stomach to get cut out. So all this crazy shit, and our total bill was literally for a room upgrade, and it was like $200. Oh. Like it was nothing, right? Like it's fucking comical. But
God, the medical field here has turned into such a fucking business. And I train a couple of retired nurses that spend 30 plus years in the field, and the stories I'm getting from them, oh my God, it's just literally turned from a actual quality thing where people, can rely on their doctors to a complete business.
Well, how can it not? And I mean, like it is here too, to an extent, because doctors get paid through this, provincial, federal insurance based on how many patients they treat and different things too. So it's like if you can be just turning patients out 5 minutes at a time, bam, 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 bam. You got a lot more billable. So it's like you can still make a game of it, but it's not the same. It's not. Not like it is in your country, dude. It's fucking crazy.
That's one thing I do hope that changes.
Give her my health card, this old lady, and I'm like, I know I'm diabetic at this point, but I don't know what it means. I don't know what state I'm in. I kind of figured I was just going to get like an insulin prescription and go home. I don't know what the fuck. I didn't really know what type 1 diabetes was, really, And I sit down and give her my health card. She's like, okay, like, what's your name and date of birth? And I tell her, she's like, okay, are you diabetic, dear? And I was like, what the fuck? It's like, yeah, pretty sure, but like, that's not on my fucking health card. Like, that's not on my medical record. That's why I'm here, because I'm pretty sure I'm diabetic. And like, I was like, why would you ask me that? And she's like, oh, I've been around a long time. I can smell it. I said, you can smell it. And like, sure enough, yeah, when you go into what's called diabetic ketoacidosis, which is the product of having elevated insulin levels over time, and then paired with lack of insulin, paired with high glucose levels over time, as the body starts to shut down, deteriorate, start killing itself. It's called diabetic ketoacidosis. And one of the like traits of it, especially when it's really bad, is like a really sour, fruity aroma from the breath and like the back of the tongue. So it was like,
Really?
wow.
I had
Yeah, so
no
like,
idea about that.
yeah, and I mean, it's not something that anybody else would really fucking notice, I don't think. But like this old, like she was like 90 something. She's the oldest nurse I've ever seen. Clearly had been working forever, and it was just wild. Like I'll just never forget it. You know, I'll never forget because how I felt. And I mean, that was like a very life changing day, obviously. But yeah, going in to be like, hey, can I see a doctor here? And just her being like, hey, do you have diabetes? It's like, what the fuck? It was so crazy. So then she was like, okay, we're gonna check your blood sugars right now. And then she checked, and it's like, you guys in the States use a unit of measurement called milligrams per deciliter.
Mm.
We use a measurement called millimoles per liter. It just makes the number look way fucking different. You know, like my perfect number, I can't remember the exact conversion right now because I haven't used them, but it's like if my perfect range is say like from 4 to 7 millimoles, in the American unit of measure, that might be like 175 to 250. So it sounds a lot different, but it's measuring the same thing. It's just a different unit of measure, right? Kind of like Fahrenheit and Celsius.
Right.
But what you should be in the Canadian unit of measure is, well, you would pretty much always be around 5, right? Because your body self-regulates. That's what your blood glucose level would be. And when she tested mine, I was 33. And she was just like, that's like ridiculous. Like that doesn't really fucking happen. Like you're fucked up. And so I'm in the hospital bed, like hooked up to all this shit. I've got insulin drips, all this shit, all these tubes in me and stuff. And all these resident doctors kept coming in. They're like, yo, like, you're awake? Can we like talk to you for a minute? Be like, yeah, like, what's up? Like, this is some shit, isn't it? Like, this is fucked. Like making jokes with them. They're like, man, you should not be joking with us. Like, we heard about you. We heard that there's a guy who has maple syrup for blood and is awake.
Maple fucking syrup.
Yeah. Canadian thing.
Turns out that you're fucking Canadian too.
Exactly, right? Yeah, there's a Canadian fellow. He's like, yeah, I heard a guy who got fucking maple syrup for blood and he's awake making jokes with the doctors. Like, we had to come in and fucking see it for ourselves. Like, you shouldn't even be conscious right now. It's like all these medical teams were coming in just to like, so I was like this fucking sideshow spectacle. Yeah, it was fucked up, man. It's crazy.
You definitely gave them some fucking funny stories to talk to their patients about, and even themselves in the future.
Big time. And then they also loved it because it's like both my ears are all cauliflowered to shit. And when that happened, and I went in to get them drained like multiple times over the years, it was the same thing. They're like, can we get the residents in here to see this? Like, you never see this in practice. I'm like, I see this. Everybody I know has ears like this. They're like, you never see it really in clinic. So they'd always get people to come in. So it was like they're coming in, and then once one of them sees my fucking ears, it was just like a double up. They're like, oh my God, we got this guy in here with this crazy diabetes, and he's alive and he's awake, and he's got 2 fucking crazy ass like hematoma, whatever they called it, right? Like the aftermath of a hematoma is what happens in ears. But
the fucking
I was getting all kinds of attention. It's fucking hilarious.
Dude, that's fucking incredible, man. Like everything that you've like. I can't believe that one. It's almost been 2 hours since we started talking, and time's just like flying right. It's flying right by, but it's just overall impressive that one, everything that you've gone through, and the fact that once you were like officially diagnosed, it was not like a kick in the ass and you stayed down on your feet for so long. Like, you didn't let it kick your ass. Like, here you are.
I remember. So there's an endocrinologist is a specialist that type 1 diabetics would see, or type 2 diabetics wouldn't. Type 1 diabetics see an endocrinologist because they're an autoimmune specialist. So it's like, you know, if you've got rheumatoid arthritis or something, you go to a specialist, it's an endo. If you've got hormonal issues, and it's an endo that you go see, which is the same for a type 1, which a lot of people don't realize, because again, we have an autoimmune disease. It's not the same as the other diabetes. But the resident, the supervising doctor on the ward in the emergency room the night that I went in is an endocrinologist. So I was really lucky that she just ended up being my endocrinologist then from that point on as well. And she was the one who diagnosed me and did blood work on me and stuff like that in the hospital. But I can remember after she delivered the diagnosis 100%. They're like, and we know it's type 1 because we did see peptide tests on your blood, and like we know for a fact that your beta cells are done. So like this is what you have. I was like, yeah, I know. Like I knew it coming in here, what the fuck it was. Like it sucks, but like, you know, it is what it is. And I was already like a pretty big like nutrition geek and pretty understood pretty well insulin's role in the body and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, like looking for the silver lining. I'm just gonna have to be like my own science experiment. I'll get to see shit in real time and like how food affects stuff, and like that'll be kind of cool to learn about. But I can remember her sitting down, delivering the diagnosis, trying to explain to me what it was. I was like, okay, cool, like, and I can just remember her looking in my eyes and like so sincerely and deeply saying, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. And being like really concerned and almost like expecting that like I was going to need like some sort of like counseling or you know what I mean? Or at least like a moment of just like a why me or like a breakdown and at the time it was like, it just struck me really weird. And I can remember just being like, whatever. It is what it is. I mean, like I fucking have the shit, like my pancreas is fucked. So like hook me up with insulin, like, you know, tell me how to figure out how that shit works and I'll figure it out. Like people live with this thing, but like I never had that like, oh my God, why me? Like, what am I gonna do? It was just a really, I don't know, it's just a thing like I'll never forget, just the way she looked at me and the way she said it. But now to put it in perspective, if I was somebody who like didn't understand exercise, wasn't interested in it at all, was sedentary, didn't understand nutrition, like most people don't really know what a calorie is or what a carbohydrate is or what a gram of fat means, or like they don't know this stuff, right? So if I was somebody like that and somebody who drank fucking soda all day and ate like just shitty whatever the fuck all the time, that was just my lifestyle. Fuck, no wonder people have these, you know, crazy, oh my God, what the fuck am I gonna do? Because I don't know what the fuck I would have done. Like it was pretty easy for me to manage it at first. I was eating like super low carb. I was doing like this weird like primal type of thing, if you want to call it. I guess it wasn't really paleo, but it was like kind of like ancestral or whatever, just experimenting with different diets at the time. But it was like ultra low carb, and it was really only high carb ever immediately after like an intense training session. So it was like I wasn't really eating much food that was going to elevate my blood sugars anyway. So I was operating in the law of small numbers, like I like to call it, where the amount of carbs I was putting in was small, so the impact on my blood sugar was small. The amount of insulin I need to use is small, and therefore the margins of error on that were small. And then that let me really kind of experiment, know how my body reacts to insulin, how it all works, and then start introducing more carbs along the way. Now I just eat whatever the fuck I want. I mean, I still eat more for health than hedonistic value. But like people think, oh, you're diabetic, you must have to be careful, or like you can't eat this. It's like I can eat whatever the fuck I want. You can eat whatever you want. If you eat something with a lot of carbs, your pancreas will just hook you up with the insulin for it immediately, and your body, and that's how humans work. Well, I just have to inject the insulin, and that's a huge estimation, and there's a whole lot of volatility involved. But if I dose my insulin correctly, I can eat the tray of fucking donuts just like you can.
Yeah, it's just now a matter of just injecting yourself with the insulin to process the sugar that comes into your body.
But the fucked up thing with that is it's like, you know, you need the insulin to save your life and to stay alive. But if you overdose on insulin, it can very easily kill you.
Right.
So it's like a fucked up thing with being a type 1 diabetic as well, right? Because it's like you're 100% in charge of your care and your routine. You get your prescriptions. I pick up my shit from the pharmacy. I've got needles. I've got all kinds of insulin. I've got way more than enough to fucking kill myself at any given time. And it's just up to me. That's it. I'm just here by myself. You know what I mean? And it's like, holy fuck. So setting alarms through the night to check my sugar levels. I do it for my health and to make sure that my glucose isn't high, you know, causing deterioration, which sucks long term. But it's like, I frequently take insulin before I go to bed or shortly before I go to bed because I'm hungry late at night and shit like that. And it's like every single time a type 1 diabetic takes insulin, you're worrying, okay, well, if I haven't taken enough, then 2 hours, 3 hours after my meal, I'm still going to have too much sugar in my blood. Damage has been done. Now I have to take more insulin, which is even more of a guess because there's other shit going on to try to lower it. Maybe I get it right. Maybe I take too much and then I lower it too much and my sugars crash. And now I have to go eat fucking Skittles to fix it. But then how much Skittles do I have to eat? I don't really know. Hopefully I don't eat too much. It's going to go high again. I got to take more insulin again. So it's like every time you take insulin, technically you can kill yourself if you're not careful. And it's called like dead in bed syndrome. It's like a thing that's not super common, but it's common enough to be scared of as a type 1 diabetic, where type 1 diabetics go to sleep and they just don't wake up.
Right.
And it's because they essentially have insulin overdoses overnight. Their blood sugars go low, their bodies don't kick in and wake them up, and they go into a low blood glucose coma, but then nobody's there to feed them sugar, and they just don't wake up, and their hearts stop beating and shit like that. So it's just like a weird fucked up concept that it's like, man, this shit in this
Really
fucking
is.
head, that like my life is owed to 100%. Like if I crank that dial too much, or like if the fucking needle malfunctions, if I try to crank out 6 units and it's off inside in the mechanism and it's going to give me 10, like I don't
This is the
fucking
last
know.
shot.
I'm going to pay the price for that. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of crazy.
But still, to do all that and still find the time to train, to still go to work, to still be a father, like these are things where people stack up their excuses. They stack up the amount of things that say, maybe I could take this tomorrow. Like, reality is, if you want it that bad, you're going to make the time and you're going to put the effort in. If you're looking to do any type of change to your physical and mental well-being, it's just a matter of, are you going to be stuck on an island, chopping down pieces of wood, spelling out the word help, or are you going to chop down those pieces of wood and build a boat and get yourself out of there? Like, are you going to be your own hero, or are you going to save yourself? Because at the end of the day, truly, no one's there to fucking save you.
I always say, the universe doesn't owe you a fucking thing. Really, shit is the way that it is. You got to deal with reality on its terms, and sometimes it sucks. Sometimes your path might just be intrinsically way fucking harder than somebody else's. Is it fair? No, but fairness isn't a concept that exists really in the universe. Fairness is a construct, you know what I mean, that you come up with when you're comparing things or when you're reconciling and balancing values and stuff like that. So it doesn't suck to set alarms and get up all the time through the night? Doesn't it suck to deal with this? Doesn't it suck to fucking have every single workout affected? Doesn't it, it all sucks, but like, what are you going to do? And this is, you're talking about people's excuses. It's like, fuck, man, people have enough excuses why they don't get fit, why they don't be in shape. And it's like, I'm not trying to fat shame or like anything like that, but everybody, like, if you're not making an effort to better your health, if you're not making a regular effort to at least be aware of it, better your health, like that's fucked. It's just completely fucked. You know what I mean? It speaks to your level of self-love and self-respect and everything. Because if you don't have yourself and you don't have your fucking body that you live in, you don't have anything else. There's nothing to live for if you can't live it,
It's even as simple as just drinking water. Like, literally, just put down the fucking soda and just start drinking a little bit more water. You'll honestly would be surprised if you put down the fucking sugary shit and you actually pick up a bottle of water. You might even see a couple of pounds within a couple of weeks. It's just literally refueling your body with proper nutrients that are going to actually aid in not only the proper development, but as well as aid in your average every day-to-day lifestyle, even as simple as just getting out of bed and continuing on throughout your day. First thing when you wake up, first thing you do, just say thank you for your mental well-being. You say thank you, blessed to have another day, because not everyone woke up today. Then have a bottle of water before you brush your teeth, because the first thing you want you to do is you want your gut to be activated. You want your metabolism to be activated. So even just doing a simple thing as drinking a little bit of water as the first thing in the morning before you even go piss, you would be surprised like how much just those two minor things could impact not only just your mental health, but your actual physical health at the same time.
Dude, there's easy things that anybody can do and ought to do Really, no matter who you are, what you're into, everybody ought to have a healthy body. Unless you
Mhm.
want to, unless you actively want to fucking kill yourself, you ought to do certain things that better your health, you know, and promote health. But not everybody wants to be fit. Whether they should or whatever is a whole different conversation. But like, not everybody wants to lose weight. Maybe I'm happy being overweight. Maybe not everybody wants to, whatever. That's cool, and that's your own prerogative. But for the people who act or at least project as though they want a change. I just can't lose the weight. I just went. You're eating your fucking Cheetos and you're coming up with the
Hmm.
excuse as to why you can't do it. So it's like, that's the shit that pisses me off. Like, I
Couldn't
don't
make
mind
it to
if
the
somebody's just
gym.
being overweight. Like, you can be overweight. That's cool. Maybe that's what you're into. If you're happy, whatever the fuck, like, do your thing. But don't bitch and you know, out your unhappiness with your current situation and act like you're a victim of it and like you just can't fucking change it. That's the that's the fucking worst. Do your thing if you want to, but don't act like you're unhappy and not fucking make an effort to change. Because I'm telling you, it's like any fucking gains that I make are at least 10 times fucking harder than for you to make. And I don't mean you personally, but
No,
even
but
anybody.
to someone like yourself, where you're fucking type 1 diabetic, and you're required to actually physically inject yourself with insulin, versus the people who don't even have to watch their stuff, they don't have to track their insulin, they don't do any of that
And
whatsoever. They just have
it's
to
not
wake up
like
and eat.
it's not like, oh, I take my insulin like somebody tells you to take 2 Tylenol. Like, it's not dialed in like that either. It's like, yeah, I take my insulin, but like, every day is different, every dose is different. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen. It's like my body temperature, the time of day, my mood, other shit, everything affects everything. So it's like, at best, I'm managing. Never ever am I just like, oh, I took my shit, so I'm normal, I'm same as you because I took my medicine. That doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the odd fucking day that I have, that's like a unicorn day, that I wake up, my sugars have been in non-diabetic range all night long for 8 hours straight. I wake up and I'm like, what the fuck? Wow. I don't even know this is what waking up is supposed to feel like anymore. And like, and for people, this is just normal. Like, their bodies function like they're supposed to. Mine used to. It's been long enough, I don't really remember being so grateful to wake up in the morning and feel, because I'd never felt diabetic, you know, before, so I didn't know the
Right.
difference. But it's like, you know what I mean? And like, I hit little things like that, or I hit a training session where my blood sugars are fucking perfect. They don't fuck me. They don't spike or drop when I start working out, and they stay rock solid. It's like the way that I perform, the way that I feel, the fucking strength that I have, the endurance, the way that my heart functions properly. And like, it's like, man, if I had this all the time, Jesus fuck, like the progress that I've made in the last 3.5 years, like if I had a normal body that wasn't actively trying to counter everything I'm doing, wow, you know what I mean? Because it's like the work ethic is there, the application's there, the consistency's there. But like, I've got so many training sessions that I just have to fucking bin because
Yeah.
diabetes fucks me that day, or fucking days that it's like, wow, you know, I had my fucking macros. Like, I don't track closely, but like, I always have an idea of like generally what I want to eat and like, you know, what's
Yeah,
probably added to my
and
body.
personally, I don't think anybody should, because it fucks with your mental more than anything else. As long as
It's not
you're
healthy at all.
relatively in within the range, you know
Yeah.
you're in that range, and you know you're not downing at least a fucking pint of, like, a pint and a half to a gallon of ice cream. At least you're
But see, there's
balancing out
days
yourself.
where it's like I have no intention of doing that and everything's dialed in, but because of my fucking blood sugars, like they won't stop crashing. My insulin that normally works the way it does, it seems like it's 10 times stronger today, and everything's fucked. And my blood sugars keep going low. And by the end of the day, it's like, wow, I had to eat 300 extra grams of sugar today. Not even to eat, not even for meals, not even because I wanted it, literally to like keep myself from going into a fucking coma. And then like, that's still nutrition that I ate. That's still on my daily macros. I still smashed 300 extra grams of fucking sour grape blasters today that I had no intention of. Like, what does that mean for my diet? How's that going to affect my fucking gains the way that I programmed everything out? Sometimes I just can't help it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
had to eat a fucking tray of donuts today to be healthy, as fucked up as that sounds.
that's
But your body's still going to suffer the effects of eating a fucking tray of donuts or a
of
big fucking
course.
jumbo bag of Sour Patch Kids, right? So it's like, fuck, okay, cool. Like, you know, now I got to balance all that out. So yeah, dude, it's like I get butthurt on people's excuses and shit like that. But it helps my ego and it helps my pride, because I get like a just like fuck you type of mentality. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You're just not cut from the right cloth, man. You know, if you can't manage, if you're saying that you want to change, again, I got to preface with that, because if you don't want to change, do your fucking thing. It's all good. I don't hate you for being out of shape. But if you want to change and you're playing victim and you're crying and bitching and you just cannot get up a half hour earlier in the morning and do something, you just can't fucking turn off Netflix for 45 minutes at some point through the day and fucking do some body weight squats or go for a walk or do something.
Maybe do squats while watching Netflix. Like shit.
Whatever the fuck, man. It's like there's all kinds of shit you can do. You know what I mean? Doing anything is better than doing nothing. And it adds up over time. But like, you know, and then I think it's like, man, you motherfuckers, it's like you can't even manage to get through a day. That's just a day. You know, what if you had to function as one of your vital organs? Literally 24/7, 100% of the time, still go, like you said, still go to work, still perform at work. You know, at work, I don't get any extra breaks. I don't get any extra slack because I have fucking type 1 diabetes, but it fucking affects things big time. I think your brain functions properly when it has no glucose running to it, or when it's got 10 times too much. It's like everything's fucked. So it's like, yeah, just to get, you know, to wake up in the morning, get to bed at night, and then you throw in all the other shit too. You're going to train, you're going to excel in a sport, you're going to do athletics, you're going to put on physical body mass. And like, yeah, dude, I don't want to hear your excuses. You know what I mean? If you're going to talk about it, be about it, right? If you're not talking about it, that's cool. We got mad love for you too, but if you're going to talk about it, you got to be about it, because I don't got time for that shit. It's crazy.
No, and especially as coaches, there's nothing that irritates us more is when you waste our time. Like money can always come back. Money can always come back, not a problem. But it's the art of wasting time that is not only hurting us, but you're hurting yourself at the same exact time, because it's a more time that you're wasting wishing instead of actually fucking doing. Like the hardest part that people have per day is literally getting out of bed. The second you get out of bed, there should be no excuse for you not to put the next foot in front of you, not the next foot in front of the other one, and next foot in front of the other one. You're laying in bed all day. You're on Netflix. You're on your phone. You're on YouTube. You're on Facebook. You're on Instagram, and you're consistently thinking, "Man, I really want to be in the gym," or "Man, I really want to be at this weight," or "Man, I really should be doing this. I should be doing that." To an extent, I do understand the weight of depression, and I do understand mental ailment.
Oh yeah,
But
me
if
too.
you're one of these motherfuckers that is literally you're not diagnosed with any of the following above, but you're just consistently looking to play the victim. You're consistently looking for the attention. You're consistently looking for somebody to come save you. Do yourself the fucking favor and turn off your fucking phone and go for a run. Turn off your fucking phone and drop down, do some push-ups, do some fucking burpees, do something. You don't need a gym to get a workout in. Majority of the exercises, whenever anybody starts working with me for the first month and a half, you're barely touching any equipment whatsoever until I know for a fact you have a stable core. You can do some push-ups, you can do some pull-ups, and you're able to at least hold yourself up, crawl yourself down, crawl yourself up, and you're able to stand without using your hands. Stand up from the ground and go down to the ground without using your hands.
Yep.
No matter if you're 25 years old and a full-on athlete, or you're an 85-year-old woman who is needing just the safety factor of, God forbid she falls, she can't use her arms, she can still stand up. They can still do the same exercises. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of what matters is your effort and actually being disciplined to get through the fucking work.
Big time. And that's what, dude, that was like most of my programming when I first started, because I was like super small. I was undertrained. I was starting from basically like a nothing point, even though I had experience in the past, but where I was at the time, it was basically a fresh start from rock bottom. It was like most of my sessions were like push-ups, dips, body weight squats. And it was doing exactly that to stay consistent. It's like, I'm busy, I'm taking care of my daughter, all this crazy shit's going on, like my wife's not well.
You can get strong by
But I
doing
realized,
that.
like, oh,
You can get very strong by doing that.
I'm standing at the kitchen sink fucking doing dishes. And it's like, shit, I can just like, it takes no time to just do 20 push-ups. I'll just pump out 20 push-ups, keep doing some dishes, fucking do 10, and then all of a sudden it's like 3 hours have gone by. I've just been going around the house doing chores, and I've done like 300 push-ups. Just in time,
as little as
breaking
that.
the volume up. But it builds those habits. And I had training history and training habits before and experience. So it's like I wasn't a total layperson or anything, 3.5 years ago, but it's still mental. People still get into habits. You still get into routines, and you still have to develop them in healthy ways. You can't just do, or most people can't do a complete 180 flip flop of their entire life and routine and go from 0 to just boom 100% in there doing crazy big sessions 4 or 5 times a week and stick with it.
No, if
But
you can't do
again,
a burpee, do a crawl out. You can't do
that's
that,
it,
just do a plank. It's literally do what you can, but do fucking something.
something. I love you said that though about your clients. I can tell you're smart. You got a smart approach to training. I think you'll
I don't
do
know,
well.
because it's learning from experience. Like especially for myself. I like when I was at my heaviest, I was also 22, so I was still young enough to where when I got injured, I was still able to rebound pretty fast. But now, even just damn near 5 years later, I get injured now. It's going to take me a minimum of 2 months to try and recover because the human body literally ages faster than people realize on the inside and out. And the deeper research I go, because it's not only just I just went by the books and became a personal trainer. No, it's like I worked with world-class athletes. I worked with world-class trainers. You know, I picked brains from multiple different sources just because this is an industry where you can never stop learning because there's so many different types of people, whether you're type 1 diabetic or you
Yeah,
have cancer or you're in remission or you're
exactly.
pregnant or you, like there's so many different things that comes down to this whole fitness game that people don't realize, and especially trainers nowadays that just want to become a trainer and tell people what to do, when meanwhile you got somebody doing burpees who's got scoliosis and their knees are also, they got knock knees, and here their knees are bending inwards each and every time they're going downwards, and you're not watching it, and you're just literally forcing them and drilling their body, making them sore. Good coaches know when to go all full on like straight up attack mode versus let's have an easy day and let's work on form, technique, and all these other little things, and you don't see
Anybody
that
can write you
nowadays.
a program and just fucking whoop your ass.
Yeah,
Anybody. It can be basic. You know what? You want to get your ass beat? Go do fucking 5,000 burpees right now. Go do them for time. There you go.
yeah. All right,
Tell the
I'll
story.
even put it on my piece of paper to make it more official. Here, 5,000 burpees.
There you go. Boom.
Now,
Now it's
now
a
give now
program.
give me $35 for that.
Like, come on, man. Like it's fucked. But this is what most of the guys promote. You know, these dudes who didn't build their physique, everything they're posting is high intensity interval type shit with like a light fucking kettlebell or a light mace. And like, I get questions all the time. How do you must do barbell work. You must do this. You must do that. You can't just, you couldn't have done that with kettlebells and calisthenics. And it's like, yeah, man, but not with a fucking 25-pound kettlebell doing a dance.
Yeah, ever pick up a
Right.
fucking 70-pound kettlebell? Not even
Yeah.
that. You ever pick up a 45-pound kettlebell? Those things humble you very fucking fast.
Yeah. You know, or people like, yeah, well, you know, I got this, that, or like, I outgrew my 35-pound kettlebells. You outgrew them. Are you sure? Can you long cycle them? Can you clean and jerk them, or can you double snatch them for 5 minutes straight, for 10 minutes straight?
Shout out to Tony. Can you do it for 30? Can you do it for an hour?
Yeah, like I bet you fucking can't. You didn't outgrow shit. You know what I mean? You gotta adjust the training. You gotta adjust the modality for it. Definitely
Exactly.
get the heavier ones. If you want to build mass, you gotta lift heavy. You know, people
Yeah.
think kettlebells don't build muscle. Kettlebells are just a weight. So if you get
Hmm.
heavy enough ones and you play your leverage and your volume the right way, why the fuck can't you get big?
It's an awkward fucking weight, but at the end of the day, if you're fucking pressing 70 fucking pounds, that's still pressing 70 pounds. Like that's still putting 70 pounds above your head. Like compared if a dumbbell or a kettlebell, regardless, you're still putting 70 pounds above your head compared to
Yeah.
the people who are just swinging around a 20-pound kettlebell. Like, yeah, you'll get some pretty great conditioning and some cardio out of it. Like, yeah, that's all fine and dandy. But if you're looking to put on size, you're looking to put on muscle and all these other things, you can definitely pick up a pair of 45-pound kettlebells. You can pick up a pair of 50s, 70s. Hell, if you go as wild as Tony, pick up some 100-pound ones and start cleaning those.
It's like maces too. Like, dude, I love movement and mechanics. Like, it's all good, but like all this mace flow shit, like it's cool. And I catch myself watching it. Like I'm on the gram, I'm sitting there like, oh shit, and I get like zoned out in a little bit. But it's like I don't have any personal interest in using an 8-pound mace and
Yeah.
doing a choreographed ballet with the motherfucker for like that. It's cool. Like it looks cool, but like so does Cirque du Soleil, and so does a bunch of other shit that I just like to watch for the aesthetic value of it. But it's like if I'm gonna put in time with iron and steel and gravity and like I want to be strong, I want to be athletic and shit. And so it's the same thing I get like really with a mace. Like you feel like you really get strong, isn't it just for mobility and warm-ups? No, man. You throw like the heaviest mace I've swung is I had a 28 yeah, 28 kilograms. So I had my mace loaded up to like 61 pounds. Um,
Jeez.
and busted out 360s with that. And like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like,
It,
the fail
it,
videos I have of before I, geez, like that thing just threw me the fuck around. But it's like, yeah, if you're gonna do a dance with an 8-pound mace and try to imagine somebody building like a serious muscle and strength with it, you're gonna have a hard time. But then you think, okay, well, I'm not gonna do a dance. I'm just gonna swing it in a savage fucking motion with solid mechanics and load it the motherfucker up. Like,
yeah,
it's just a way. It's
different
just
goals.
you know.
It's different goals. Some people like with the steel mace flow, they do a lot of also yoga and also type like tai chi tai chi type
Yeah, yeah.
training. Try saying that fucking 5 times fast. And like that's the kind of, it's like a flow type training. It's a completely different type of goal. But if your goal is to build size, you're not going to get size by doing that. Like you're going to get size by going at least over 25 pounds minimum and then really swinging that shit around. Like the one of the videos I got one of the most views on is a 27.5 pound club video that I have where I'm literally just doing the same motion over again, and the only little flashy thing is that I pass it behind my back and people think that, oh, that's so fancy. In reality, it's really not
Yeah,
that fucking hard. It's not even that
yeah.
fancy at all. Like it's in reality, it's pretty fucking easy. It's just having your hand-eye coordination. But then people say, oh, the momentum from it is just, it doesn't just flow out of hands. Yeah, the fucker flew out of my hands a couple of times. Like, yeah, that's how you learn from it, though. Like, you don't just like
Exactly.
it doesn't fly out of your hands and you just like say, oh, say that's it. Now just leave it on the ground and walk away. No, go pick the fucker up and get right back to work.
So that's the thing, right? Like you got to try shit. If you want to make gains, you got to try stuff, and you got to fucking fail.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't post
Failure.
all of them. I post some of them, but it's like, bro, like, yeah, when I'm loading that mace up to weights I've never even swung before, the first time I pick it up and the first time I cast it usually doesn't result in a successful 360.
It
It
stumbled.
just
Like
won't.
you end up here like shit, shit, shit,
Yeah, I'm
shit,
just like,
shit.
oh shit, and I bail on it. It's like I need to feel, okay, how heavy is this? What's it gonna feel like when it drops behind me? Like how hard do I need to lean the other way? How far do I need to lean to counter it? The first rep isn't gonna be perfect. You have to feel it to inform. You know what I mean? Your body has to feel it and experience that to know how to adapt. So it's like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
dude, but it's a 200-pound sandbag yesterday. I'd never picked that shit up before. I knew it was rock solid. I knew it was supposed to have more play than it did. It was just freshly filled like that. But I was just like, and I mean, it sounds kind of stupid, but I just started my session with it. I was like, fuck it. I did like a very short warm up, shorter than I would ever prescribe to somebody before doing that. And I was like, fuck it, this thing's going to be heavy. If I'm going to have any hopes of doing anything with it today, because all I wanted to do was pick it up just so I could feel it, so that my nervous system would adapt a little bit for the next session, which would then feel a
Right.
bit more natural. But yeah, I just went after it. I did like a fucking 5-minute little fucking 35-pound kettlebell flow warm up, drug the 200-pounder out, and was just like, fuck it, I'm throwing this up on my back. And just just started going to town. And dude, I've got a ton of fails. I had all kinds of times I got it to my chest, like fuck, and I had to throw it on the floor. But you just got to try, man. It's like, you know what I mean? You're never going to grow in anything in life if you don't try and set yourself up, set yourself up and experience some failure. But
Yeah.
especially with getting stronger and making muscle gains. And it's like, once you get some training experience and your body gets used to stuff, get out of your comfort zone. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm going to drop the sandbag on the floor. The worst thing is I'm going to fall on my back and fucking smash myself with it. But it's like, I feel like I have enough of a training foundation that I can trust myself to push it a little bit.
Of course. And I can't tell you the amount of times that with the gym that I work for currently right now, aside from doing my own training outside of that with a clientele, when I'm in that gym, it's one of the busiest gyms on Long Island, first of all, but it's also the largest gym on Long Island. So the amount of attention that I get when I was swinging this mace is because I'm the only person who's swinging a club in that gym. And I'm the only person on Long Island that happens to have a Mace Fit certification that's actually able to teach this shit.
Nice one.
So
That's cool.
not that many. When people come up to me, that's maybe out of like the thousands I've talked to within the last year, maybe 4 or 5 of them knew what the hell I was talking about when it comes down to swinging a mace, or knew the kind of movements I was doing because they've done it in the past. And it's not even like they were people my age, or they are people who are in their 50s and 60s that they did this back in the fucking 80s and 90s, and that they're happy to see this is kind of like coming back into a actual style of training. And when these big ass fucking buff ass like deballed out guys come out and fucking pick up this mace, and immediately the humble feeling they get in their eyes when they pick up my mace maxes out at 32.5. And when they go to pick up the 32.5, it's immediately, what the fuck? And you're swinging this shit around? Like, it's pretty fucking fun too.
Yeah.
Not to mention, is it a great form of training, but I also find it to be a very fun source of training because I'm also really in tune up here at the same time while going with the physical part.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling the motion of the mace, I'm feeling the flow of it, but I'm also at the same time contracting my core. I'm at the same time making sure my feet stay planted and in certain movements, if I'm relying just on upper body or if I'm making it a total body.
Yeah.
Like, these are the little things that are going on within my brain, that it's not only just a physical training, but again, it goes back to it's just mental training as well.
I swinging a mace in particular gives me a feeling that I've never gotten and I don't get from any other modality. And it's like you hear about people talking about runners endorphins, and it's like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
But you can get that from all kinds of different exercise. You just have to hit the heart rate the right way. But there's something about swinging a mace, and it can even be a light one. It's not even like busting my ass. Like I can throw 15 pounds total weight on it, take it outside in the fresh air in the evening, when the sun's just going down, not even count, and just get into the zone of doing 360s. And it's just like, there's something that it does, and I don't know if it's the activation of both brain hemispheres where it's crossing the center line and the symmetry of both sides in a circle, or what is fucking going on, other than the stuff you're talking about, because I'm the same. There's all those tiny little cues that you're always aware of and hyper aware of and changing, but it's like something about swinging a mace, more so than a club too. There's something about the long lever and just the momentum that it feels like swinging down low behind your back, that I don't know. I find it very, very, very meditative. And
It like
afterwards,
channels your deep instincts from the human nature of like primal state training from like gladiator days back before there was like, gun ranges, before combat was fought with guns and bullets, when it was actually fought with, hand to hand club work and mace work and all these other little things. Like, I was talking with Coach Wolfie, who is a steel mace coach also,
yeah,
and
yeah,
she we were talking, and she says she describes it as like you're also moving with the earth at the same time, like the gravitational pull, like the movement, the circular, like I forgot the exact word and it was used, but it was like being more in tune with the earth as well when you're going around with that. Like, especially outside, I do feel a little, when I'm swinging inside versus when I'm swinging outside, I definitely do feel a difference. Like, I feel more free when I'm just out in the open, swinging around a fucking heavy ass maze, doing 10 to 2s, doing 360s, doing all these little things, as well as like deep ass squats. Like, that's the other thing too. You can really improve your squats when you're doing this shit, this kind of work, just like bouncing out and getting the depth part.
yeah.
That's what got my depth down, was doing this kind of work. Before I even went back under the bar, before my fucking injury, I did a lot of this fucking deep ass hip work with a club and a mace. And immediately once I got back under the bar, I saw a tremendous difference.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just a great feeling. I never feel like I'm working out when I'm under it. When I'm swinging a mace or a club, I never feel like I'm working out. I feel like I'm having fun. Like, it feels like I'm playing essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the force and the centrifugal and centripetal forces that are generated, it's a crazy feeling being in the center of that, with that heavy ass fucking lever spinning in a circle around you, pulling you in that full 360 degrees the whole time. But you're grounding yourself, you're feeling all the flows, you're feeling like the direction of the mace coming up, the direction of the pull. Like, I don't know, man, it's like I can geek out on that stuff all day, but it's the mental
Yeah,
benefits are crazy, 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 crazy.
I
Similar
love
with
it all.
clubs, like when I do mills and stuff like that, I get it, but there's something about just swinging a mace with two hands in a big ass circle. That's one of the most badass things I think you can do.
And just at the end of the day, it makes you stand out in general, no matter where you go. And it's another tool. No matter where you go, literally, you can work out. And I travel with my stuff everywhere I go. Doesn't matter if I'm going to my gym. Doesn't matter if I'm
Yeah.
going for a vacation. Literally, my equipment follows me everywhere I go for that exact reason, because I love it that much.
It's easy to bring. Like there's many places around here, but there's one particular little park very close to my house. And it's like right on the ocean side. Like the tide comes in and out. There's like a playground, a basketball court, different shit for like families. But in the summertime, it's so beautiful and it's so close. I'll just throw my kettlebells, a mace, some clubs, whatever in the car and just drive down. It takes maybe 2 minutes in the car to get there, unload my shit, and it's all good. And it's like I'm standing literally on this like concrete wall that's way more than, it's not dangerous. It's like more than wide enough. It's like a walkway. But on
Right.
one side of it, it's like ground level, it's grass, there's a playground, all that stuff in the background. But on the other side, it's like a drop off and it's basically just the fucking ocean. It's like a harbor. There's like some boats that are docked and then it goes out into the
That's a
horizon.
gorgeous sight
And
to
it's like,
swing a
dude,
mace.
standing there, like, oh my, well, it's my profile picture on Instagram was cropped from that scene there.
Oh
Just
shit,
there,
okay.
it's like the whole backdrop is just like the fucking ocean, like the sun's beating down. It's like, I don't know, man, the combination of just like the elements of fucking nature, the feeling of swinging a mace around, the sunshine, but like the stares that I get from people, it's like people don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
If only they knew though, the feelings
Oh,
that you're
dude.
having that you're during that moment, because it's not only now just the actual workout that you're getting, like it's now you're having the sun ray hit you at the same time, like you're feeling the wind, you're around the ocean, like it's now you're in a state of meditation while you're working out at the same time. So it's literally the best form of training for your total body
Oh,
experience,
bro, I
internal
get
and
like
external.
way more volume in all those sessions in the summertime when I'm outside in the sun and the grass and shit near the water. I don't even realize it, but I'll go back, like I'm making my notes and I'll look at what I did and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, man, I got a program for next recovery. Like, but I just didn't feel it. You know what I mean? I'm out there, I'm in the sun, I'm getting the fresh air, and it's like I just
It
just
just feels
fucking keep
good.
going. It's just like
It
natural
fucking feels
fuel,
good.
It's fucking dope, man.
The amount of the amount of calories that you burn within an hour of you just doing this shit. I never burn as the only other time I burn as many calories is with jiu-jitsu. The fucking amount of calories I get between kettlebell work and club work and mace work within the amount of hour, it's a minimum of about 1,000 calories minimum.
Yeah,
But
especially when you're pushing volume. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, it pick up a mace, go 360 one way for 5 minutes and go the other way. Don't even have to put it at a heavy weight. Set it at 15.5 pounds. And as a beginner, guarantee you that those forearms will be screaming by the time that your 10 minutes are up.
Yeah, fucking right. That if you can even make it that long.
If you're going to make 10 minutes, yeah. Just
Yeah,
try 5 minutes at first. Try that. Or even 3 minutes. Try a minute and a half in one arm, minute and a half in the other, and see how you do with that.
real.
But brother, man, listen. This has actually been an amazing conversation. Like for our first actual real talk, like this has
Yeah,
been a
it's been fun.
pretty solid.
I mean,
Pretty
who probably a little bit all over the place for the listener. It's just been pretty natural and free flow, but it's been a lot of fun, man. We should do it again
Oh,
because
absolutely.
it's
110%.
or you're an hour behind me. Actually, I was going to say you're an hour later, but no, it's what
Yeah,
almost 10
right now
o'clock.
it's about to be 9 o'clock over here. So that's why I don't also want to take you too much time away from the family either. But
No, it's all
anyway,
good. I've got one approximate gang of meat upstairs that's been cooked a couple hours ago that I'm gonna go fucking attack real hell.
go destroy
Oh, yeah.
that. But before you get out of here, anything you need to plug up, your Instagram, everything you want to talk about,
Yeah,
the
I
floor is
appreciate
yours.
it, man. It was fun just to have a loose conversation, to be honest, without trying to be too businessy. But yeah, hit me up at Grappling with Type 1 on Instagram. I am now kind of full-time offering programming, coaching one-on-one. Obviously, I specialize in kettlebells. People think I specialize in mason clubs. I fucking don't. I can use them and I can program them, but it's not my specialty. I'm a kettlebell specialist. And yeah, man, I just program based on what people have. You know what I mean? Whatever tools, you don't get any tools at all. If you just got your body and your fucking house and your floor, that's cool too, because I've made serious gains like that in the past. So yeah, plug that. I know you're an edX guy. It's not a competition, but I got to plug CK Maceworks again. They're my homies.
Hey, man, mace work is mace work. Whatever we get the word out, because more people really should be invested with these type of tools.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Yeah, that's about it, man. I'm pretty easy. Just hit me up. Anybody got any questions? I'm an open book. Happy to answer any DMs, any emails. It's all good.
Hey, brother, man. Well, again, I truly do appreciate this conversation. It really does not feel like 2 hours went by at all whatsoever. Like it was just from one coach to another, from, you know, just actually getting a chance to really pick your brain as well. It's been an honor. This whole thing has just been an honor, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
No, dude, thanks. Like I appreciate it. You know, as I said, I think I have a lot to offer as far as my experience, my skill sets, um, just my age and life experience all tied in with it. I think it's a good time to be doing what I'm doing. Um, but this is all a bit crazy for me too. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate just having the opportunity to come on and talk to you and just do this. It's, you know, just somebody wants to fucking pick my brain. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't that long ago that I had like fucking 700 followers on Instagram. I
Yeah,
changed some
and
things
now
up.
look at you, over
People are getting more
4,000, over
serious. It's like,
4,000, creeping to 5.
yeah, like shit's popping off. So it's nice, but I'm definitely very appreciative because it's like you don't
But
have
yeah,
to be
this
so
is
the best
this is
support,
also
right?
just something else for you as well, man. I'm gonna send you the link for you to, to basically to save yourself the time as well. Like I told you before, how I look at time as the most valuable thing. I'm looking to save people time as well and going into detail. They say like, hey, if you want to find more detail about me, you can listen to this podcast here. Yes, it's also a plug for me, but as well as it saves
Sure.
you the time of trying to explain yourself as well.
Love it, man. It's all good. Hit me up
All right.
anytime. Happy to come back. Obviously, we chat anyway, so I'll be talking to you. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
man, it's been a
definitely.
pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate everything, brother man.
All right, Tim, take care, man.
You too.